Being recorded to YouTube.
Oops.
Normal spot. Just a sec, gotta make sure it's running. Fantastic. Being recorded. There it is. All right, we are live on YouTube, so that means it'll be recorded. So, all right, Bonnie, you've got a question there, or are you just trying to shield yourself from the glare of your screen?
I have a question this morning. I need to back up my computer. I have never done that. So I need just some basic directions, what to buy, how to install it, and whatever.
Absolutely. And yes, very, very important. And so, yeah. Well, are you on an iMac or MacBook Pro? What are you on?
Hey,
MacBook.
Peter.
Kathy, you need, whoever that was needs to mute themselves. Whoever yelled out Peter.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'm on a MacBook Air 2019.
Okay, so you have regular USB ports on that, I believe. You have one or two on that one.
I have two.
Okay, so are you a Costco member?
Yes, I am.
The path of least resistance, the easiest one is to go to Costco, and you want to get a Seagate portable, and they're about the size of an iPhone, and they make a 2 terabyte and a 5 terabyte. If you're on a MacBook Air, a 2 terabyte is probably fine for you, and it'll say 2 terabyte Seagate portable. And the hardest part is going to be getting it out of the box that they have it in. So what you'll do is you'll simply plug it in when you get it all done, plug it into your computer. And in fact, Al, I'm sure, is right now looking for the how to set up time machine link for you. It's pretty much automatic. You don't have to get one that says it's for a Mac or anything. And what it will do is the first step, it will completely erase that drive, because you don't want to use the software that comes with the drive. Apple's built-in time machine is much better. And then you basically, whenever you plug your machine to charge it at night or whatever, just also have it plugged into the hard drive. You don't have to have it all the time, but I recommend it. And it will back up and make a complete clone of everything that's in your computer. And it will do it every hour. Now, when your computer's asleep and you're not creating anything new, there's no need for it to back stuff up, so it won't. And it's also a great way. That's how you get the information in from an old computer into a new one. And you just use Apple's time machine. It's just fantastic.
Oh, because I have my old MacBook Pro here that's been sitting here, and at the Apple store, the guy never did finish transferring all the data over. It was a pretty chaotic day there. And so I could do that.
How long you been running the MacBook Air?
Since let's see, October, November of 2019.
So that's when you should have had everything transferred from the MacBook Pro.
Well, he kind of shuffled me out of the store. I don't know. He was helping 3 people at once. And
yeah, well, that's where if you'd have done time machine on your old one, you would have just plugged it into the new ones and things like that. That makes that a little difficult. But yeah, I wouldn't erase anything off of it. But in fact, that little hard drive, you could use it to bring some of the data over from the other one. But you don't want to wipe this one and completely redo it because you've been using it too long now. So
right.
Yeah,
it's just that I think there are probably pictures and things that I'm not sure what got left behind.
Yeah, so there's support available through people like myself, Kimberly, some of the other people in the club, and I'm doing everything remotely through Zoom. So there is a way for a fee to get that transferred over for you.
Okay.
But yeah, don't mess with anything on the old one, and you should be able to bring pictures and things, and any documents should be brought over fairly easily. But first and foremost, back up that new one, because things can happen, and that's just not good.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Somebody asked a question here. Greg Jones, goes generic with every start and I have to reselect it and back it up to get the icon back. Greg, are you on which operating system? Greg Jones?
I'm on Mojave.
Yeah, and is yours part of time capsule? I mean, is it part of a time capsule or is it a regular external drive?
It's an external drive.
Wow, that's bizarre. And do you have to go into time machine preferences each time and select it again?
Yeah, with every reboot, if I just, once I shut the
Wow,
machine down or restart it, it goes generic again.
that's, yeah, there's something up there. The only thing I could say would be is if it's enough of a hassle, you could totally wipe it and then redo it, but you're gonna lose any history you have, so.
Yeah, I've done that. The icon still goes away.
What brand drive is it?
I've shuffled different ones.
It happens to multiple ones?
Yes.
Are you connected
I've
directly
used
to the
3 different
computer or through a hub?
I've used 3 different manufacturers for a backup with that as a possibility, and the behavior is the same.
Are you using a hub?
No.
Wow. What regular USB or USB-C?
Whatever's on the back of my iMac. It's a 2019 iMac, big one.
Wow. The only thing I would recommend on that is do a reset SMC. Have you tried that? The key either reset PRAM and reset SMC, and that is in your computer, and that might be something that would help. But that's kind of a Hail Mary.
Yeah, I haven't considered doing that. It's been ages, so I'll give that a shot.
Yeah, that's it'd be the only thing I'd try if everything else fails, but I'm holding the 50% hope out that it might.
It's not that big a deal just to go in there and repick it. It's just,
Yeah, and that's every time you reboot though, that's crazy. But if it just goes to sleep, it's okay, right?
I don't let it sleep.
Oh, you let it run all the time?
Yep.
Okay. Well, that's one way to keep it so it stays on there. All right, any other, let's see here. Any other, oh, we got to get Cheryl and Al, if you, and that was, I'm not able to keep participant screen open. So no problem. I didn't hear it. Fact. Hey, Randy, can I task you to be a co-host also?
Sure,
Just
happy to.
basically, because I have not been able to disable the waiting room.
Sure, I'll be happy. I'll watch it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Kathy, go right ahead, unmute yourself and go for it.
Oh, this is so simple for you. Of course. I'm trying to decide if I should get the 12 Pro because it's a very big compared to my 10. And I'm wondering if I should get the 12 or the 12 Pro. Am I going to wish that I had the smaller one that I can't find in my purse, or am I going to want the 12
Well,
Pro that's got a better camera?
You're talking to a guy that uses the iPad mini all the time, but my up close vision is fine. So I tell people with the iPad is, think of it first of all from there's 2 forms of ergonomics. The size and the heft of holding it, but secondly, how do you want to look at it? Do you have reading glasses that you'll need to use anyway, or can you look at a bigger one without glasses? Because basically you have the exact same amount of information on no matter what screen size it is with an iPad, and therefore the larger it is, the better, the larger everything will be for you. So that's where you come down to it. And then I have what do I have? I have an 11 Pro, and I rarely use it because it's almost like then I might as well just take my laptop around. Whereas my iPad mini fits in my vest pocket and things like that. So I think you really have to look at your use case and from two aspects, portability and secondly, readability.
Thanks, a bunch.
Yeah.
Was she asking about iPads? I thought she was asking about the iPhone.
I was asking about the iPhone, but I think the
Oh,
same.
when you said 12, I thought you were talking about the 12.5 inch. Okay, I'm
No,
sorry.
I was
Well,
talking about,
the same holds true for the screen. So you were asking about the regular iPhone 12 versus the iPhone 12 Pro. My
right.
mistake. That really boils down to how much photography, and I don't mean picture taking, I mean photography, are you going to be doing with the camera? Me, for instance, I used to take 20% of my photos when we could travel with my iPhone. I now take 80% of my photos with my iPhone. So it's important for me to have it. And in fact, my background picture up here was taken with an iPhone through a spotting scope
Wow.
because that guy was about a half mile away. So.
Yeah, but you're an excellent photographer. I'm just a
Well, I
total
didn't have
novice.
anything to do with this one. It's all automatic. That's the beauty of the iPhone. You don't have to be a great photographer because I always, even if I'm shooting with my big camera, I always take shots with my iPhone because they always come out and they're always perfect. No matter what I do to screw them up.
So you did that with a 12 Pro?
Yeah, I have the 12 Pro Max.
Okay. Thanks.
So again, that was through a spotting scope though, because that was very zoomed in. That's the only downside is it's, but it's, if photographs are important to you, not snapshots, but if photographs are important to you, go with the Pro because there's more features with it. Otherwise, the 12 is a great deal. And then a lot of people like the Mini because it's the smaller size. So, you really have a bunch of options, but don't forget, you're going to have those same options in September and October when the 13 comes out. So you've waited kind of halfway through the cycle now. If you're not in a hurry and if yours is working fine, who knows what they're going to be offering in the fall.
Okay, thanks a million.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. Anybody else? Any questions before we go into the passwords and mail presentation? I'm happy to answer them. This is a good time. You can raise your hand in the reaction screen, or you can just unmute yourself. Rich, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm wondering about Big Sur. What's the latest on that?
Well, I had an update this morning that took 45 minutes to go, and I was really sweating whether I was going to make it to this. I was pulling out my old laptop just in case. So here's my stance on Big Sur. It's better than Catalina ever was. It is, most people that have installed it have no troubles with it. There are still some mail issues. And if you can tell me why you should upgrade, then maybe I'll endorse it. But as I always like to say, two things that usually prevent people from upgrading on it is if they always treat it like the grass is always greener, but at some point you really have to go mow the lawn and pull the weeds. And the other thing is, if you want to upgrade to Big Sur, you'll make me a very wealthy person from all the tech support I'll have to give you. And that usually quelches people right there. So there are issues with it that are deal breakers. And I think you just have to worry about it. But if you can give me a compelling reason why you want to go to it, then sure, go ahead. But it's not without pitfalls. I'm only running it because my machine came with it.
So is Apple doing anything about upgrading it?
Yeah, there was a brand new update. Yeah, so how polished it is I got a notification this morning that there was an update. So I said, well, let's go ahead and update it because it actually said it was pretty severe. It had to do with some possibly ruining the computer through USB-C ports and things like that. So I did that and the dang update stopped partway through. So I was looking at the clock and I'm going, man, I got to get on here. So I just rebooted the machine, and luckily it did okay, but I was sweating it. I like to start this at quarter till, and it was still finishing the reboot. So Apple will encourage people to do it because that's their tech support thing. But I'm seeing still some issues with it. I'm just, if you want to go for it, but just realize 10% of the people have significant pitfalls. So if you feel lucky, go for it.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Don McBride, go right ahead. You need to unmute yourself, Don.
I got a new monitor at Costco, a Samsung 28-inch monitor, and every time it goes to sleep and wakes up, it takes about 30 or 40 seconds, and it flashes back and forth when the screen windows move to the external monitor and back to the MacBook and back and forth. And sometimes I'll get the little icon, like a Apple icon, like restarting the system, and a variety of things happen. I spent probably a half an hour with Apple support online, and they couldn't help me.
Well, what operating system are you running?
Mojave.
And how are you connected to the monitor?
It's a USB. I mean, HDMI. I tried a different cable. I tried a different HDMI cable.
So HDMI can be an issue because HDMI, because of they're so worried that people are going to steal content, that it has a handshaking component to it, and that's not, that's tough. Is there any other option on the monitor other than HDMI?
Probably is. Let me look.
Steve Jobs described HDMI one time as a bag of hurt.
It's got two HDMIs and something called a DP-in. I don't know. I couldn't.
Yeah, DP is display port. So that would be, now what are you running it with? What computer?
It's a MacBook, an old MacBook, 2014 MacBook.
2014. So you probably have Thunderbolt on that, Thunderbolt 1, or what they call mini display port. So
Right.
you should try, just get the cable and see if it works. Mini display port to display port. DP is display port, and that might cure the problem. And the other thing is, a lot of this has to do with this stupid Energy Star stuff, but I think your problem revolves around HDMI, because HDMI has to have this special protocol built in to keep it so people can't make recordings. It's stupid, but it's the way HDMI is.
Yeah, I have an adapter from that mini display to a DVI, but the HDMI is a different port. It's a little small.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, so the monitor has full size display port. So you need to go from mini display port to full size display port. And I think, and you might even have better resolution.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
All right.
Occasionally I get a message on the monitor saying the resolution isn't right. And
yeah, and you may have more choices with it, but I would get a cable from somewhere where you can return it if it doesn't make any difference. But I suspect that's an HDMI problem. The only other thing is, you want to make sure that any of the Energy Star or energy components, eco mode and things like that, are off on the monitor, because to be Energy Star compliant, they end up going to sleep, and that creates some issues too.
Yeah, I don't even see any way to change settings on the monitor. Sometimes.
Well, it'll be on your monitor thing, but you have to get the manual out for that, and that's not for now.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right, any other, that's great questions, and that's just a thing is HDMI can have issues, and it's this handshaking that needs to happen. And it's really, it's a way, I mean, it's a stupid way to try prevent people from stealing movies and things, because there's so much easier ways to do it that you wouldn't do it through an HDMI thing, but that just is an issue. So any other questions before we roll on to passwords first and then on to mail?
Hi, Ken, it's Cheryl.
Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, I'm having a problem trying to put a virtual background on my iMac. It's a 2010. I'm using high.
Yeah, that's why it's a 2010. You probably can only do it with a green screen.
I've tried the green screen and I have.
Do you have a green screen?
Well, it says you need a green screen and I check it that I have a green
Yeah,
screen.
and you don't have a green screen, so that's why it won't work.
So I have.
What happens is a green screen makes it very easy for it to filter out your background, and it takes less computing power. But your computer probably doesn't support it without a green screen because you don't have the graphics or the horsepower in the computer to take care of all the little things on your shelf back there and things like that. So that's why it's an issue with that. And a green screen could simply be you just get about the same color as Al's background. That's just there's a thing you can get back there. You could be fabric or anything else, and then you could do it. But your background looks good like it is.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else? Now's the time. I can't, if you're on the second screen, I can't see a hand raised. So just unmute yourself and speak right up. Okay, and let's see.
Ken, just to clarify, I have a question about mailing pictures, but that's later.
Mailing like pictures because they're too big and what to do?
No, my wife, we've got brand new MacBook Air, and she took a bunch of pictures on her phone, and they're populated on the iMac. I mean, on the Air, and she tried to send it to our minister, and she could only do one at a time. But on her iPhone, she can send a batch.
So the way it, yeah. So I'll try to get into this in mail, but basically, if you're using a Apple Mail, she's doing it on the phone?
She took the pictures on the phone, went up to iCloud and then down from iCloud onto the computer.
Wait.
And she can only use, she uses Gmail.
Tell me how she went to iCloud.
It's automatic from the iPhone.
Okay, so then okay.
And then
so
it automatically populates the computer.
Well, that has nothing to do with email.
No, but so the pictures are on the Air. She then wanted to use her Gmail to mail a bunch of pictures. I told her like 6 at a time rather than the whole 24, but it would only do one picture at a time.
Does she have an Apple email account?
No, she uses Gmail on the.
Okay, so Gmail is limited to 20 megabytes. And if you use Apple Mail and use an Apple Mail account, an iCloud.com or a Mac or a Me account, you can do what's called, you can attach it and it essentially sends the photos to the cloud and then does it. So you're not really emailing the photo. What you're doing is you're simply providing a link. And that would be the only way to do it because Gmail is limited. And the other thing is Gmail is limited to 20 megabytes and the receiver might be limited to 10 megabytes. So you don't even know if they got there. So the best way to do that is with an Apple Mail account and use, the name escapes me, what it's actually called. When I get into the mail thing, I'll try attach a big one and it'll tell me. So
okay, thanks a lot.
That. All right, cool. Any other questions? Okay, we will move on. And again, as we go along here, I'm going to go into passwords, and we're going to do passwords. And as I go through, there's plenty of time for questions because there's not a ton of content that takes a lot of time. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And all righty, so we started the recording. We've got that part done. So nobody here has ever had trouble with passwords, I'm sure. It causes more anguish, and of course, there are a bunch of cuss words. In fact, I know some people that get so frustrated with their passwords that they end up making their password be a curse word. Now, this is how you feel many times if your passwords don't work. And it's interesting because at least now our computer monitors aren't as heavy. So you're probably not going to break your foot. You might just break your toe if you have to do it. And then, you know, there's no end of frustration with passwords. And we've seen this. So I today, hopefully, and I'm going to go through the same protocol I've given for a while. And I always get feedback from people that anybody who uses this protocol that I developed say it works and they love it. And it will make it so you can almost always know what your password is, with a few exceptions. And we're going to talk about iCloud Keychain. We're going to talk about how your passwords are stored, how to be mobile with your passwords, and things like that. I do not use any non-Apple password programs. I don't use LastPass. I don't use 1Password. I use Apple's built-in password program, which is iCloud Keychain. And it works seamlessly behind the scenes. It's constantly improving, and it's very, very good. So if you use Apple's iCloud Keychain, you'll be computing on cloud 9. So kind of two parts of this is, how are your passwords stored? How transportable are they? And how do we create good passwords? Apple will strive to have you make a very, very, very secure password. And that's fine. That will be ultra secure. The password protocol I'm going to tell you about is more secure than what 95% of you people are already doing, but there are more secure ways to do passwords than what I'm showing you. And that's your decision. The problem is when you get these ultra secure passwords, you feel like you're rubbing your tummy and patting your head and doing all these other little gyrations and making it work. Excuse me, they're very hard to remember. And many times you're not in front of your computer and you need to log into them. I'm going to say one thing at this point. In fact, I'll bring it up in the live demo if somebody reminds me. You can store your passwords in notes because we can now protect notes with a padlock. A lot of us would take and we would put our passwords into our contacts, or if you have an iMac, that little spot along the bottom of the iMac you put sticky notes on, everybody does. Yeah, that's a good place for passwords. But iCloud Keychain is, I'm going to describe how it works before I go in how to make passwords. So in my striving to de-geekify things, I try to take them out and put them in the real world. A lot of times I get people that say, well, I have this password here. How come it doesn't, if I have it on American Airlines and it doesn't work on Bank of America and all that? Well, I turn around and I say to them, does your car key open your house? No. And think of keys like passwords. If you change the locks at your house, the locksmith has to give you new keys. And that's what passwords are. So just changing a password inside iCloud Keychain won't work because you would have to go to wherever it was and change the password there first. But I like to look at iCloud Keychain as a key box. And I like to say, let's pretend like you own an apartment complex. In this case, it looks like it's only 16 units, but we'll say that it's, 128 units of apartments. Well, forget master keys for a minute, but basically, if you had that apartment, you would have a full-time manager. So that full-time manager, in the manager's office, there's a box that only the manager has a key to, where all the keys to the different apartments are. So if the plumber shows up and he needs to do something in apartment 12A, he goes down to the manager, and the manager with his or her key opens up the key box and gives the plumber the key to 12A.
Where is it?
And
Oh, shit.
can we get that open mic off, one of you co-hosts, please? Thank you. So the plumber gets it, he goes up, and then he returns it to the manager and puts it back in. Let's say the person moves out of 13C. Well, when the person moves out of 13C, the locksmith goes up, he changes the key, and then goes down and gives the manager the new key to that box. Well, this manager's key box, so to speak, is what your iCloud keychain is. The iCloud keychain is stored very securely and very privately on the cloud, but also on your devices, but it's locked away with your password or with your fingerprint or your Face ID. And the beauty of it is that all of your devices, when you have iCloud keychain set up, they sync, and therefore, if you create a new password at a new place or change a password at an existing website, it goes up to the cloud and comes down to all your devices, and in fact updates all those keys. And that's why it's called iCloud Keychain, because it's on the cloud. It also lives securely on your devices, but it's able to be very proactive and changes with things. So, and the only way you can get into it on your devices is with your fingerprint, your Face ID, or with a passcode. And that's essentially the manager's key to get into the key box. When it's working correctly, you don't do anything. You don't manage it yourself or anything. It all very Apple-like happens automatically. So that being said, any questions on iCloud Keychain itself and how it does it? When I get out of the slideshow, I'm gonna show it to you, but any questions on the concept there? If so, just unmute yourself and ask away.
Now, when I'm using passwords on a website, sometimes it automatically fills. Sometimes I get a little pop-up that says the passwords are locked and I gotta enter my machine password to open them up and then pick the website. What's going on there?
Are you using Safari?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so Safari, and I'll show you how it is. Safari is an offshoot of iCloud Keychain, and it has its own passwords. And what it's doing is it's saying, oh, I want to make sure it's really you. So it asks you for the password to your device, so it will autofill the password. And on some sites it doesn't, but that's different levels of security, and also newer operating systems ask it more and more. Are you on Catalina or Big Sur?
Mojave.
Okay. Yeah, on Mojave, it's not quite as stringent, but it will ask that in some places. And I'll show you that when we get into it here in a second. So in fact, yeah, let's go right now to, so speaking of Safari, you guys can see my Safari screen. And if I go up to Safari preferences, so here are Safari preferences. And what comes up, I go across here and you'll see passwords. So when I click passwords, I'm just going to type in my computer password. Actually, I can use my fingerprint on this one. Hang on here. My fingerprint on my MacBook Pro. And I'm going to show you one of my passwords because I no longer use Allstate. So what I did is I have a one in here. So here's my list of passwords that are stored in Safari. And I know that it's Allstate. So since I have so many here, I could just start typing Allstate and notice how this filters it down. So when I click here, my password is password1 with a capital P. And I did that intentionally just for you guys. Again, I don't use an Allstate account anymore. So I use this one. So password1. And I actually have a little warning there saying security recommendations available. So that's a way to see your passwords in Safari. Now, also in the newer one, since I'm running Big Sur, it will detect if it's been in any breaches because there's stuff out there. Let's hit details. So here was the website that it's at. That was my username. This is my new fake password. And it's a compromised, easily guessed password. So whenever you see that little triangle, it's just giving you a warning that it's probably not the best password to have. And we're going to talk about how to make passwords in a minute. So anyway, if I go back here, I'll show you again where that is. So first of all, if I'm in Safari preferences, I go to autofill and I want to make sure that these are all checked, okay? Because I allow it to store my credit cards on the computer because I don't like places to store my credit card, but I let Safari store my credit card. But more than anything, you want to have it use usernames and passwords. But if I want to go in and view my passwords, I click on passwords. And actually it's asking me on my watch, this comes up earlier that the question was, so I can double click on my watch and it let me in. And again, if we go down to Allstate, you'll see it shows my password. Now I could expose all these other passwords if I click on them, but I really don't want to do that because this is being recorded. So anybody can use this username and go into Allstate because there's not an account there. So, and as far as autofilling, to your question, you want to make sure that in the autofill tab or preference that it's on there to go ahead and put in your username and passwords. The other thing is, this isn't really a Safari class, it's a contacts class, but you want to make sure that that your card in contacts is what it uses to autofill. And not all websites support that, but most of them do. So while we're at it, we're going to go into what's called keychain access. Now, I showed you how to get into Safari preferences, and you have to promise me that you will treat this as read only. You do not make any changes in here at all. You treat it as read only, okay? Because what happens is, let's say I was at Allstate and Allstate required me to change my password. Well, when I change my password in Safari, it will pop up and say, oh, you've created a new password. Do you want to update it? Or the first time it'll say, do you want to save it? And you should always save that because it's so much safer to have it stored in a secure enclave in your computer than it is to write a note and have it written down somewhere, because that's not safe at all. So always agree to it. And in this case, if you changed it, it will ask you if you want to update it. and you always say yes. What I do is I take it one step further. Let's say I was in Allstate and I went in and I changed my password. Okay, I'm logged in now because I've created a new password and I've logged in with it. What I do at that point is I immediately log out and log back in because that password is fresh in my mind because I just changed it. And that way I make sure that the correct password is getting saved in there. So I just go to a program, I go up here to the spotlight, and I'm going to type in keychain password or keychain access. So the keychain access is the program where your passwords are stored. And now these are more passwords than what we had in Safari, but it works in conjunction with Safari. You'll notice I have some with numbers. Excuse me, these are web forms for routers and things like that. Those don't show up over on the left here where my Safari passwords are. It's a different list because Safari never needs to log into a router or any of these Wi-Fi networks, but your keychain password stores all of these. So we're going to go all the way down, and I'm over here on iCloud, and I'm going to go down to that same Allstate password. And again, rather than going through all of them, I could have, well, I'm just going to start typing Allstate here. There it is. So here is my Allstate password. And if I double click on it, a little window pops up and says, oh, okay, here's your information. And now it says, when I click show password, it asks me for my computer password. Again, this is like the manager's key box. It's saying, go get the manager. I cannot get in and see that password unless I know the computer password, excuse me, or your login password. And look at that. It's exactly the same. It's password 1. Now, absolutely treat this as read only again. Never make any changes here. You should never, never, never manage the passwords yourself. If I went to Allstate, it would prompt, and I changed my password, it would prompt me to save my password. Changing the password here and not changing it on the website would be the equivalent of just going to the store and buying some random key and thinking it'll work at your house or in your car. Again, do not change it here. Let it happen through Apple's system. And this is iCloud Keychain, and the program is called Keychain Access. Again, please, please, please treat it as a read only. Your left-hand screen will look a little different if you're in a different operating system, but you either want to be in login passwords or, and actually like this, now they've got the tabs across here, passwords. And again, you can see this. These are like, this is for the Clarion down in Monterey. So things like that. It just stores all these old Wi-Fi ones that are in here. So any questions on keychain access or Safari passwords at this point? Please go ahead and speak up.
I have one. In these areas, can you completely delete something that you don't want anymore?
You can, but why would you?
Just to clean house, I guess.
Okay, and what if you ever need it again? What if I
No,
what
let's
if I
say
need,
you
what if
never,
I need to go back to the Clarion on Munross there?
yeah, something that you guarantee that you never need again.
Why do
You
you care
know, a
about it?
business that's now defunct. My fries password.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, that's a collector's item now. Carolyn, that's a great one. Yes, you can delete it if you want, but this takes up such small amount of space that I'm sure you have much better things to do with your time.
Okay, just leave it alone. That's the answer.
And the whole reason there is because the old oops factor. Oh, darn, I didn't mean to delete that one. There's no harm with having them there. But yeah, if it's a defunct thing, something like that, yeah. But you're probably not going to go to that website and have it fill in. So, but that's a good, and the Fry's one is poignant. Those that don't know, Fry's finally is shutting down all their stores. So, it was well needed for a long time. And, that's a lot of places where we got our Apple stuff, but there's good online sellers now. So I think their day has come and gone. So, Roy, go ahead and ask your question. Unmute
Oh,
yourself.
sorry, I had a question, but I worked through it. I have a different way to access Keychain, and I didn't have that column with passwords, but I went up to Safari Preferences, and it's in that, using that path, I see it. So, sorry, I
Yeah,
forgot to
Safari
remove.
is the main one. And actually, you'll notice mine in the background. You'll notice after a certain amount of time, it panned out. And I have to ask you, when my screen was up and I showed you guys the password, did my password show up?
No, dots.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, let's try that, because I've noticed this with it's a bit of a security thing, and I'm going to show you on the. So when I go to Allstate here and I click this.
That's what I see when I use my other way to access it. I have to put in my
So
password every
is there a
time.
password showing up here on my screen that says password 1?
Yes.
Okay, so because sometimes I know that Apple does a deal where they make it out. Now this one, do you read password 1 on my screen now?
Yeah, and see, I
Okay.
wasn't seeing that type of screen. I would get the other one where it didn't show the password column, and I would have to type in my computer password. But
Yeah, it's not going to show you that until you type in your computer password.
yeah, but now I went into the Safari preferences, and I now see what you see.
Yeah, and what'll happen is, so I'm gonna follow this through with going in to, well, actually, I'm still on the Mac, so let's do this. I'm gonna use Siri and say, show me my Allstate password. And it's asking me to unlock it. And look at that, I used Siri to do it. Now, it did it in the Safari version. It didn't do it in Keychain Access. Okay, so you can use Siri to do that. Now I'm going to bring up my phone and show you where this all is on the phone. Okay, so first I can say to my phone and say, show me my Allstate password.
Really?
Boom. So again, it used my Face ID to make sure it was in there. Now you'll notice what's here. This is interesting here. I'm looking at my phone, and if I hold my phone up to the camera, it's hard to see. Where the word password, you'll notice that because my phone is being displayed on the screen, the password's blanked out on your screen, but I can assure you it says capital P password 1 on my phone. So it's really interesting how Apple did this security thing.
Oh.
So I'm going to go into my phone and go to settings and show you where your passwords are hidden on your phone. So if you go to,
Right now,
Oh.
passwords.
Uh-huh.
can we mute that one mic there?
Settings.
So I am in my password. So how I get into here, I go into settings and I go down to passwords. And if I tap on passwords, there's my Face ID, and I'll just go on down to Allstate. And if I tap Allstate, there it is. You don't see my password, but I do on my phone. Okay. So again, it's in settings and then passwords right below wallet and Apple Pay. But again, you can tell Siri, what is my Allstate password? Boom. Okay. So that applies to the iPhone and the iPad. And Randy, you have a question?
Yes, on passwords, I think you may have been skiing at the general meeting last week or so, or a week or two ago, but I had brought up the fact I was hacked. Someone's impersonating me, opened up a brand new Instagram account with my Facebook photo and name, but I don't have an Instagram account. And so that prompted me to go in pretty much where you are on passwords to actually just update as a security all of the many things that passwords shows that are easily guessed, easily hacked. So I did that.
They probably didn't get in that way.
Which is true. I retired a little over 2 years ago from Sacramento Bee. And the funny thing is, well, the unfortunate thing is, truly, is many of the people that have contacted me were former Sacramento Bee employees. So somehow they're getting names that I have either liked in the past or somehow got an employee.
Well, and you know who owns Instagram, right?
Facebook.
And so there's your answer.
Yeah, thank you. So, but I was doing that, but I do have a password question, and I'll just hold it up here. Not that you can see it, but one of the things that's showing up, this is a B of A account, and it's for bills.bankofamerica.com, but they're like a sequence of username 8 numerals and password 8 numerals. And that shows up for multiple. I do all my banking online, e-bills, and get the e-bill notices. Just leave those or delete those.
Don't ever delete them.
Okay. I didn't.
You never know where they're going. And trust me, what happened to you has nothing to do with this or nothing to do with your password.
Okay.
It's just like these people that you'll see some friend that all of a sudden shows up and say, oh, there's so-and-so. What they do is they clone a Facebook account. No password or no password, doesn't matter. They clone that Facebook account, and then they see the friends list and do it. And it's some algorithms, and Facebook doesn't care. They don't care about you. You're not the customer, you're the product. And it's more hits the better kind of thing. So that's how that happened. And you weren't hacked. What happened was someone decided to use an existing Facebook profile that you had, create an Instagram account. The only thing you can do when that stuff happens is post on Facebook, all your friends, say, look, look out, I've been cloned. They're doing that. And then everybody that gets that invitation, friend invite, you should instruct them to click delete and say it's spam, and then it goes away.
Great. Thank you, Ken.
But it happens all the time, and it's not because anything you did or anything that was compromised.
Thank you.
So good question. All right. Any other questions on that before I move into how to make a password that'll work and work for you quite well? Okay, so
I have a question.
Go for it.
Okay. I have the minimal amount of iCloud space that you get for free.
Uh-huh.
And I do not want to pay 99 cents a month for any more.
Why?
I'm cheap.
Well, there's penny smart and pound foolish.
Okay.
So is yours almost full?
Yes.
Okay, this takes up 1/10 of 1% room on your iCloud. This takes up no room on your iCloud. Your iCloud is also what backs up your phone and backs up your photos and things like that. So if you don't care about your photos and you don't care about your data and don't care about having your phone backed up, go ahead and be cheap, but that's not being smart.
Okay, well, I don't care about my photos and I don't care about my data because I use a Seagate every month. So
not on your phone, you don't.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So has it been telling you you're out of space?
yes.
So if you go into your phone, go right here and go to your, the top where your iCloud is, go down here and tap on iCloud and then click on manage storage, and it will show you ways, what's taking up room on your device and everything there.
Okay.
So you can tap on backups and you could eliminate old backups if you don't have it anymore. Like for instance, I don't care, but I've got my old iPhone 11 Pro Max on here, which I don't have any longer. I could delete that and stuff like that. But 99 cents a month, it will pale in comparison if you lose your phone and you decide you have to get all the numbers and everything else back on it.
Okay.
It's not, yeah, it's, and you go from 5 gigabytes to 20 gigabytes for 99 cents a month. I used to be able to tell you a way you could get 20% off, but they don't do the iTunes gift cards like that anymore. So
Okay.
Got it.
Well, that's the only reason I have not been using the keychain, because I didn't think I had space on my
oh
iPad.
no, the keychain, when you go into your managed storage, it'll show you the keychain is a blip on the radar. It's essentially, all it is like text. The text in a number, or not a text message, but just the characters take up so little space. There is, I would be willing to bet that if your iCloud keychain takes up more than 3 megabytes, that would be a huge amount. I doubt it's there.
Okay, thank you very, very much.
You're welcome. And yeah, please use it. It's
I will.
really, it's a savior.
Okay,
Okay, so now we're going to talk about how to make passwords that work. And I found these two things and I thought they're kind of funny. So yeah, you could have a really secure password, since nobody knows what the last digits of pi are. I thought this was kind of funny. So my password is the last 16 digits of pi. Oh, in fact, we have what? Pi Day is coming up in 8 days. 3.14. So on 3/14 is Pi Day. I didn't even think of that. But this one I thought was really pretty humorous, because, and this is actually a cup you can buy. So sorry, your password must contain 8 characters, uppercase, lowercase, a symbol or number, a hieroglyph, a haiku, a musical note, a feather of a hawk, and a drop of unicorn blood. So basic requirements for passwords, I use what Apple requires, and that's kind of a good rounded one. The requirements from Apple are, you have to have at least 1 capital letter, and of course at least 1 lowercase letter. It has to be at least 8 characters. It also has to include at least 1 number, and no single character can repeat more than 3 times. In other words, you couldn't do 999. I'm sorry. You couldn't do 9999, I think. But anyway, the other thing is, and I'm not going to make you raise your hand, but the 90% of you know who you are, who have a tendency to use the same password everywhere. Can anyone see a flaw with using the same password in many, many places? Speak up.
Oh, yeah.
What's the flaw?
It's going to be guessed.
Yeah. So let's think about that scenario for a second. So let's say, here we are, luckily getting near the end of this tunnel that we've been in of COVID with vaccines out. We've all signed up for all kinds of different deliveries. So let's say you signed up to have Pizza Hut deliver a pizza to you. Well, generally speaking, when you go to a website, your username is your email address. So let's just say you throw in your bobsmith@gmail.com email address, and you're at Pizza Hut and you say, oh, okay, I'm just going to use my old password I use everywhere. Well, if the guy at Pizza Hut can get into the system and he's about to get fired, he would probably just say, well, let's see, his email is bobsmith@gmail.com. I wonder if he used the same password at Gmail that he used at Pizza Hut. And if it was, boom, all of a sudden he's into your email account and he has keys to the kingdom. Well, that's a scenario that I actually am going to tell you, you should use the same password everywhere. But I'm going to put a little twist on it because, and I'm going to use this scenario. So let's pretend that your password you use everywhere is MacNexus-1. And I'm telling you, go ahead and use this everywhere. But what we're going to do is we're going to put a prefix on it. We're going to put 2 characters in front of MacNexus-1. The first one will be a capital letter. The next one will be a lowercase, and then MacNexus-1. Now, for instance, American Airlines. You use the first 2 letters of the website you're at. In this case, we don't do AA because that you have a lot of companies that you're going to be at that have just only one word. So you use capital A, lowercase m, MacNexus-1. And let me tell you why I did the protocol this way. Think about your iPhone. When you hold your iPhone up, generally speaking, if you tap capital or the capital will already be there. So the first letter is always capitalized. And after you type the first letter, your keyboard automatically goes to lowercase. So we've already satisfied the protocol of having at least one capital letter. And I'm trying to make passwords easy because you have to enter them so many times that you want them to be easy and be able to remember them. So I know I'm at American Airlines, so I know I do a capital A, lowercase m, and then MacNexus-1. And the reason I have the number at the end, don't put the number in the middle, because on your iPhone, you have to flip the keyboard to get to the number screen, right? So the whole idea is let's make this easy to put in when we're putting it on an iPhone. So American Airlines would be capital A, lowercase m, MacNexus-1. Then we get to this company. Well, you know what? This is going to be one where they're both the same, and that's not a big deal. And again, I want to reiterate, this is not the safest way to do passwords. It's very safe, very secure, but there are better ways to make it even more secure, but then people end up writing it down. And you know how it is. Think about a typical office situation. The same Bob Smith we talked about, that's email was used for Pizza Hut. So Bob Smith goes on vacation. Well, somebody has to get into his computer for some reason at work. Well, you know, you just start going through the desk and you find notes, right? There's going to be password notes somewhere. Everybody does it. If you use this protocol, you'll never have to write down a password. And I'm not saying use MacNexus-1. You could make your little short password there. The little short password could be your cat's name and a number. It could be the street name you're on and a number. It could be the nickname of you as a kid and a number. It can be anything, but make it memorable. It has to be at least 6 characters long because your total password has to be at least 8 characters. So moving forward, we go to Netflix. Anybody got a guess on what that would be? Capital N, lowercase e, and then whatever your basic password is. Don't change the protocol because you'll forget which way you changed it each time. So let's say we go to Wells Fargo. It wouldn't be WF, it'd be WE. But here's where we're talking now. We're talking about a financial institution. We're talking about somewhere where you have money or property at risk. So you can take it one step further, and this will quadruple the amount of security you have, actually even more than that. Add a special character at the end, but always use the same special character. And the 3 special characters you should choose from are exclamation mark, $, or question mark. Now, many people like to use the hashtag or the number sign, but if you think about on your iPhone, that's a whole nother screen. These special characters are on the same screen that your numbers are on, so it follows through. Again, every time you flip back and forth on your keyboards on your phone, it's a pain to do. So the other one you never want to do is a period. And the reason you don't want to do a period is because when you write your password down, you can't, sometimes you put a period, sometimes you don't. And here's the deal. When you write your passwords down, if you still feel that you need to write your passwords down, you write your password. And in this case, let's say in the Netflix one, you would underline the N in the beginning because that tells you it's a capital letter. And after you write the whole password, put today's date at the end, not as part of the password, but put it on your piece of paper, because then inevitably you're going to have 12 different versions of your Netflix password. And by putting the date after it on the password, you immediately go and you say, oh, that's the right one, because you have the current date. And if you check a password, do that. The other thing is, don't throw away your old password sheets. Yes, they're tattered. They've been scratched out. You've put whiteout on them. You've got all this other stuff. But if you try to transpose that over onto another piece of paper, it inevitably, you're going to transpose some numbers and it's going to be wrong. So if you are going to transfer it or put it in a spreadsheet or put it in notes, like I'm going to show you in a second, make sure you keep the old sheet just in case, because you do make errors when you're doing that. So the next step to store your passwords is notes. So hang on here. I'm going to create a new note. I'm in notes. This can be on your iPhone, your iPad, anywhere, even on iCloud.com. I have to get this little thing out of the way. So I'm going to go into notes and I'm going to create a new note. So I'm going to say, here are my passwords. Good luck. Okay. And then I'm going to say Allstate. And you put your username. Mine was P9SPEN and it was password 1. Okay. So I'm keeping a note here with my passwords. But if you'll notice right up here, there's a little thing that says I can add or remove a password to that note. So if I click on that note, I'm going to say lock note. Now, here's the password you should use when you lock this note. I can use my Touch ID, but I want to use it somewhere else. So I'm going to say use password, and I'm going to use the same code I use to lock my phone in this case. You remember the code to unlock your phone, so I use the same one here. So now I've taken that note and I've locked it. So now if I come back and if I quit notes and come back to notes and see, it says this note is locked. I can use my fingerprint or I can put in the password and my note is now unlocked. So let's look at this on the iPhone. So if I go to notes on the iPhone, and it'll take a second to sync here. It'll take more than a second, it looks like. Hang on here. Well, let's quit notes and see if it comes back up again. Well, it's being a little slow to say. There we go. So there's the password. It's here are my passwords. Good luck. So if I tap on that, look at that. It's locked. I say view note, and I can use the password that I put in. And then now from now on, I can use Face ID on it. So you can use your notes to store your password, and I encourage you to lock that note, but use the same 4 or 6 digits you use on your device. So any questions? Let's go back to the password protocol first. Make sure I don't have any questions on that.
Ken, this is Bev. Before you leave that, I was trying to follow on my phone, but I did not see the padlock come up.
Oh, so were you trying to make it or unlock it on your phone?
I was trying to, well, first I put in unimaginatively your folder. Here is my passwords. And I entered that to create one. I don't use notes a lot, so I'm not, and I thought I
So
saved.
let me go ahead and create a new note, and I'll call it passwords 2.
So
And
you're
then I'm
creating
just going to put in some gobbledygook. And if you'll notice up at the top, there's an ellipsis with 3 dots.
Okay.
And that's where I would lock it.
All right, that ellipsis, yes.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome. Good question. And I'm sorry. I hadn't created one on the phone. I showed you how to do it, but yeah. And the phone's where you're probably going to create it most of the time. And you know, the beauty of notes is you could go into your passwords and even take a photo of your passwords and store it in notes and then lock that note. Then you don't even have to transpose them into there because we showed you how in Keychain or how in Safari or how on your phone to go ahead and do that. So.
Well, and I kind of have a follow-up question. I can do it later, but it's.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was following along and went into my phone and this passwords there, and I have 4 that are in there because I haven't been using Safari. I use Gmail or Chrome. I don't know how I got those 4 in. They're done recently. Like one is FEMA, the flood thing.
Yeah.
But I'm not clear how I got how those 4 got in. And
you may have linked it in Safari, or believe it or not, it'll store some of the ones for apps too.
Okay.
But this is exactly why you want to use Safari. And
yeah.
And I got to tell you, I have a client I just worked with. Their computer's super slow. There is a problem with Chrome on all computers, not just Macs. And I recommend you going to this website.
I think I read that. I picked that up from the MacNexus. Your concerns about Google being so slow and a hog.
Yeah, well, and it's not super secure. It's called Chrome is bad. And there's a thing they run called Keystone in the background, and it will make a big difference on performance of your computer. And I mean, even if Chrome isn't running, this is still running in the background. So I use what's called Vivaldi. It's recommended in here. I use a different browser that works just like Chrome, but doesn't do it. It's very secure. And again, this isn't really a security issue. It's a speed issue, and it just sucks the life out of your computer. So you can check this out at chromeisbad.com.
It's a link in the chat notes.
Oh, thanks, Al. Al, you went through it, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and did you notice a difference?
Yeah, he was a little snappier.
I noticed a bit, not a ton, but I think it's on older, slower machines is where it's really going to show up. So, and guys, this is only on the Mac. This is not on iOS devices. You can use Chrome on iOS and it doesn't do it. So any questions on this password protocol? And I should point out, if you add extra special characters or if you add an extra number at the end or something, that works well. We know inevitably at some point you get messed up and they say, well, you have to create a new password. My recommendation in that case, like for myself, at one time Apple had me do that, and I don't know why, but I just added the number I use excuse me, the number I use, I just added one more digit to it because you can't reuse the same password within a year. And once the year was up, I went ahead and changed it back. But I see these people with really, really, really long passwords, and inevitably they enter them wrong. And then if you enter it wrong and then you ask it to save it, it's going to save the wrong password. So always make sure it's the right password. And like I say, whenever you change a password at a website, immediately log out, log back in, and that will make sure that you have the correct password, and it will, and tell it to update or save password.
Question.
Okay, go ahead.
Asking for a friend. If they,
That's okay.
if they use the same password over and over and over, and now they want to switch to your excellent suggestion, what's the best housekeeping way to go through and change every
You know,
single?
and I'm really glad you asked that, Chris, because you should not go through and just wholesale change all your passwords. We have much more in life to do than that. But if you start using this protocol anytime you're required to change a password, or anytime that you create a new password, if you use this protocol, it will work. In the case of this, if you have somebody who's using the same password, quote, your friend, using the same password everywhere, I would recommend doing that starting with the most important sites first, and do start doing the protocol there. But don't just get so clouded over with it that you just make it a mission. Do it as you need to, but I tell you, it's important to do it. Again, the Pizza Hut scenario. First of all, your email passwords, you're going to want to make sure they're not the same as everywhere, because if that Pizza Hut guy got in and saw your email address and your Pizza Hut password, and then he tried to go to Gmail. Now, admittedly, if the person was very smart, well, first of all, he's not super smart if he's a delivery driver for Pizza Hut, so it's probably not going to happen. But my protocol is easy to guess what goes on. But again, that's where you go to the special character. So for email, financial sites, important sites, please make sure you use a special character at the end. I encourage you to use the special character, the same one for most sites. Or you could do a thing like, if it's a money site, make sure you use a $sign or something like that. But yeah, I don't say go change all your passwords unless it's a case where you find a password you use too much. And Apple helps you now too, because they'll go into your keychain and they'll say, you know, you use this password in 63 other sites. And that's how they're trying to help you. As I say, you can't push a rope. They're trying to pull you along, and they're trying to say, hey, you might want to go ahead and look at your passwords. It'll say it on your phone and things like that. So, and it'll even say on there, you use this password on 6 other sites and things like that. And you know what? If it's something like the Wall Street Journal, or it's some place that's just innocuous, don't worry about it, because there's nothing that can harm you there. It's the places you can be harmed where you want to make sure you have a little better level of security. And again, I'm to the point where I am probably going to make I use this protocol. I practice what I preach. I use this protocol without a doubt, but I'm thinking it now where I may have one protocol I use for just okay places, and then another key password phrase I use for just the important ones. So does that answer it for you, Chris?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah. Any other questions on this protocol? And
Yes, Ken, or
yeah,
not.
go ahead.
Yeah, this is Bev again. When I got in, successfully created a new folder and the ellipsis, and I found the password. I forgot what you said on when putting in a code. Fine, use the same as maybe the phone, and then it asks, do I want to use Face ID? Do you suggest clicking that?
Yeah, because yeah, Face ID is great, and that works well. But what happens is anytime Face ID fails, it goes back and uses the code.
Okay.
So I know on the phone, it probably asked you to create a code first, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so see, it's gonna make you create a code, just like when you unlock your phone. But then if you have a Touch ID phone, it'll say, do you want to use Touch ID with this note? Or do you want to use Face ID? And essentially it doesn't say it, but what they mean is in addition to the code that you just put in.
Okay,
It's not in place of.
okay.
Yeah, and that's good that it does that, so. And then obviously on the newer computers that have the touch bar with the fingerprint Touch ID on that too. Again, you can modify this how you want, but I just really encourage you. You can see where if you have a phrase that you use, you'll never have to write passwords down again. And to me, that's a huge deal. So any other questions on the protocol, passwords in general?
Yeah, I have one.
Go ahead.
Why is it that some sites don't use this? For example, SMUD, it never recognizes my password. You always have to put it in.
Well, because they don't want anybody to break in and pay your account for you. So yeah, it's kind of a two-phase thing. Safari's always trying to do it for you, but sometimes the other end of it can block having autofill passwords in there.
Okay, so that's the
Yeah, and-
destination doesn't provide.
Yeah, and sometimes that'll be health places because of HIPAA. Sometimes it'll be that, and you know, sometimes you can get by with it with a biometric, either a Face ID or Touch ID and stuff. But to me, that's another reason to use this protocol, because you know, how often do you really go into SMUD? And so realistically, this way, if you know that it would be capital S, lowercase m, and in fact, that's a funny one because we know it is SMUD, but it's really Sacramento Municipal
Right.
Utility District. So you would have to determine whether it's SMUD or whether it's Sacramento. But either way, if you use the protocol, it'll make it easy. And you know, SMUD's one of those, I don't care about a special character unless some websites require a special character in addition. And again, use the same special character most of the time. But yeah, I think if you use the protocol, then you at least remember what the password is. And that's a whole nother reason why don't make it super long.
Ken?
There was another question that came up there over it. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, this is Bertie. I'm sorry, I came in a little late. I was always leery of using Keychain because I thought someone else could look at all your passwords. Could you briefly describe that again, please?
Sure, and it was kind of covered, but don't worry because it's important. So on your devices, so for instance, on your iPhone thing, all that is stored in what's called a secure enclave on your device. And that means that if someone hacked into your phone and stuff like that, they really can't get in there unless they have your passcode for the phone or your Touch ID or your Face ID. The iCloud password is, I don't want to say 100% it's not vulnerable. It's, if someone had your Apple ID, they could get into it, but they probably can't. And Apple is so good about privacy and security, and as happened in many of these cases, Apple won't even divulge that stuff. So I have no problem with it. There are other places, there are other password portals that store stuff, but they also store it on the cloud. And if anybody's going to store my password in the cloud, I feel very good about Apple storing my password on the cloud. And it's so darn convenient. And the other thing is, if you weigh that against writing your passwords down, it's 100 times safer to have it stored on the cloud than it is having it written somewhere in your house.
And I have a question here. I use my Apple ID the same as my iCloud ID. Is that a bad idea?
No, they're all the same. They have to be the same.
Good, good. That's
Yeah. So, and in that case, so me personally, if it's iCloud, the App Store, iTunes, anything Apple, I use capital A, lowercase p, even though it's for iTunes or iCloud or whatever, as my Apple kind of everything. So no, they have to be the same, and they're very safe and very secure. But again, it's just so much better to have it, store it, because inevitably, if you don't have it fill it in for you, you're going to put in the wrong password, and then it's going to ask if you want to save it, and then it just creates all kinds of issues. Plus, what better way to go in if you have to look at your passwords?
And
So-
secondly, how do you access Keychain?
Okay, you'll have to go back over the
It's in the chat note.
recording for that. So the other thing is, if you have people out there that are using LastPass or Dashlane or any of the other password managers, you're able to export. Let me go into Safari. I have a website that it's on the Verge. Al, I can probably put this in the win. I'll put this in the thing in the chat. So let's see here. So this shows you how to import it into that. Hang on here. I got to get into chat. It's tough because I'm usually using two screens. This is the link if you're using one of these other password managers, how to get it. Basically, you import those passwords into Safari and then they go to the keychain. All password managers have a single point of failure. In like for 1Password and things like that, they have one place where your password goes, and so you need a password to get into it. And if you forget that master password, it's tough. But that's why I like Keychain, and that's why, you know, I'll store it in notes. But this is a pretty good little article, how to get it in and things like that. Let me look at my notes really quick here. And the nice thing is you can use your biometrics, you can use your Face ID or your fingerprint. Yep. So that's coming to the conclusion of passwords.
Ken, this is
Yeah,
Bev.
go ahead, Bev.
Would this article in The Verge cover how to, I've been storing my passwords recently, starting to use Google when it asks to keep it. Would this be able to take them from Google storage into Safari?
You know, I'm not sure. I believe in Google, you might be able to do some sort of export, or you might be able to do an import in Safari, and Google is oh, you know what, here, look at here, how to import your passwords to Chrome and the Google Password Manager. That's to it, but maybe there's a way out of it. Google is the last place I would trust my passwords with.
Okay.
I'm not one to spread fear, uncertainty, and doubt, but yeah, I just, you know, when you look at what's happened in the last year with privacy, security, and censorship, I would be concerned.
Yeah, I've only recently, and I think my tech person thought it was okay, but I accept and like what you say. So
that's where I use that. I use the Vivaldi program, which is a replacement for it. Vivaldi is the browser, and it stores them also, but I do not store anything there that's important because it is not stored in what I'll call the Apple Vault. The Apple Vault, I'm very, very comfortable with.
And one of these things in the chat, references in the chat, reviews how to get you're on a website and getting it to add to Safari. But you have to be using Safari as your search engine.
No, Safari isn't a search engine. You can use Google, you can use DuckDuckGo. Safari, you can use whatever you want.
Yeah, I always have a concept problem of what Safari is compared to Google.
Well, no, okay. Well, Google is Google, but Google is a search company, but Google Chrome is a browser and Safari is a browser.
Okay.
That makes sense? And all those browsers do is allow you to go to a page like apple.com. So you can use Edge, you can use Chrome, you can use Vivaldi, you can use that. Google is a search engine that also is an email, and Google is who makes Chrome.
And then another side question, if I may, the scenario is you are away from your computer bases. You don't have your laptop. You're borrowing someone else's computer and you need to get into a site. That's where either the protocol comes in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or if you have your phone with you, which would be likely, one could go in on the settings to passwords.
Absolutely.
Okay, because when you're on another person's computer, can one or would one even want to try to get into, say, your own Apple accounts?
Yeah, well, that's up to you. I'd worry if it was on a Windows machine, and I'd worry how it was connected to the internet. But
Okay.
then the most important thing is it'll say, do you want to save this password? And you absolutely don't want to.
No, you're right. Okay,
All right.
I think I
Don
got my
McBride.
thinking straight. Thanks.
Don McBride, go ahead. Unmute yourself. Don, you had a question?
Forgot to unmute. Yeah,
Okay.
Comcast brought my network down for a half an hour, so I missed a lot.
It's being
Right.
recorded. It'll be on our normal YouTube website.
Just a quickie. To use Keychain, you need to be in Safari. You can't use that in Firefox or another browser.
You can use Keychain from Safari to look at your passwords and put them into the others, but they won't interact back and forth because, again, you wouldn't want to, because they're not storing it in a secure location. I can go into your computer and in Chrome and go say, show me this password, and it doesn't ask me for anything.
Yeah. Okay.
They're just out in the wild. So, and Safari is the best browser. And as I don't know if you're around when we did it, but you have to read about Chrome is bad. Chrome, and this is not a security thing. It just sucks the life out of the computer. In this case, a 16-inch MacBook Pro, it was using approximately 80% of the processing. It's not good.
Yeah, I looked at the list of background apps running when it was slowed down, and there were dozens of Chrome background apps.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, if worst comes to worst and you feel you have to use Chrome, at least turn it off when you're not using it. But this Keystone continues to run in the background.
Yeah.
So Chrome is bad, is that website. And I've never been one that's down on Chrome, because as people had older operating systems on the Mac, they'd have to use that. But there's some alternate browsers. They're linked in that article, and use Vivaldi or Brave or one of the others, because it's not as pernicious as Chrome is. And again, this Keystone thing is not really a snooping thing at all. It's just a resource hog. Okay, any other questions on past? Go ahead.
Yes, just a quick one. You said to put the current date at the end of a new password.
Only when you write it down. Don't make that be part of the password.
Oh, okay. And
I'm
then,
only telling you that because inevitably you have 3 or 4 iterations of your password on your little password sheet.
right.
And so therefore, some people use a spreadsheet and they just update it. But if not, at least that way you go, oh yeah, that was the current one back then. Okay.
Yeah, okay. And then immediately log out and back in to check it. And then
Yeah.
you said one thing right after that to do.
Well, if it asks you if you want to update, but it's the log in and log out. And then I don't even use, you could use the autofill right then. It would either work or it doesn't, but I like to physically type the password in when I log back in, and then it'll either say, it'll just go, or it'll ask you if you want to update the password. And when it says update password, that would be updating it into the keychain.
Great, okay.
And then it takes a while and it syncs to your other devices. And that's the beauty of it. In fact, I really have to show you that because that's important. So let's go into system preferences. So in system preferences in iCloud, you want to make sure keychain is on, okay?
Okay,
And don't necessarily do this now, because if you haven't had keychain on, it's going to ask you to verify it with another device. But you absolutely, in iCloud, you want keychain on. And then I'm going to show you on the iOS device where that is. So on my phone, I go into here, I tap on cloud. And again, these are getting to be very similar between the two devices. And you know what? I
Passed
think
it.
there it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right above iCloud backup. And by the way, make sure iCloud backup's on too, but keychain there. And again, the question came up, keychain uses so little of your space. So you want it to be on.
okay, great.
And then, and obviously you have to be on the same Apple ID on all the devices, but
Yeah.
this really does help. And the other thing is, you know, keychain on your iOS device will now autofill on your apps and stuff. And so the beauty of having them in there is when it asks you for the password, you either put your phone password in, your passcode, or it does Face ID or it does Touch ID. And so that's really secure. And the beauty of this is by filling in the password automatically, if we had, like, if you were on a Windows machine and you were worried about somebody that had a keylogger, what would happen is they don't even see you type it in. So therefore they couldn't log that key. So it has some inherent safety in it, even beyond that.
Okay, I have mine set at autofill passwords.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
But you have to make sure keychain's on.
I think it is. I'm trying to look again for it. Let's see, password.
What device are you on?
I'm on my iPhone.
Okay, so look on the screen.
Yeah.
So go to your name at the top, your name, then tap iCloud and go down and make sure that it says keychain is on.
Okay.
It's the third from the bottom here.
All right. Third from the bottom.
Okay. And if it's not, do it after the class because I'm going to ask you for some.
Oh,
some
it's on. Yeah, I
verification.
found it. It's on. Thank you.
Yeah,
And
and then
iCloud
it
backup.
has to be on all your devices and they all sync and it just works out great.
Okay, great.
All right, so any other questions?
Yes,
Ken.
Ken, this is Bev.
Bev, go ahead, and then whover the other one was will go after
Yeah,
Bev.
I'm
Go
sorry if I
ahead.
cut someone off. Just while we were just on that screen and I'm scrolling through and following on my iPhone, I have, I don't have mail clicked as being on, so I imagine.
No,
I get fuzzy on when things are syncing and not. I have photos, it's on, and I just turned on keychain, but the mail icon where you were on your phone is under the name and settings. So mail should be clicked on.
Ken, your audio's out.
okay, sorry about that. The mail, do you use Apple Mail? Do you use .mac.me or .iCloud?
No, because I haven't.
Then it shouldn't be on. Then it shouldn't be on.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
you're not using iCloud for your mail.
Okay.
So don't make any other changes in there. Only do what we talked about.
Okay, thanks.
And there was one other question that came up when Bev came on. Go ahead.
Yes, Ken?
Yep.
What's your opinion of two-factor authentication when you're logging in and it's available to you?
I encourage it. I use it. There are certain cases where I don't think people need it. Some people that maybe just have a Mac and they don't have an iPhone, or just have an iPhone and don't have that, or they don't have a lot of information on there, two-factor can be a problem. If you have one or more Apple devices around you kind of at all times, you absolutely should have two-factor on. Apple, they're almost forcing you to do two-factor. And what two-factor is, it's basically they will text or message you or push notification you a code if you need to log in. But you know, it doesn't happen that often, and they've improved it because now you can even do it from the device you're on, where before you had to have a secondary device. But I also have it on my Google account. It virtually eliminates someone being able to change your password and hijack your accounts for you. And you should have that on any important accounts. I'm not talking even your cell phone account now, because there's takeovers on it, but like your SMUD account. I don't really care if you have two-factor on or not, because you can always get a hold of customer service and fix it. And what's somebody going to do? They're going to pay your bill is about it, right? But any financial site, make sure you have two-factor. Any of your emails, make sure you have two-factor, and your important IDs, and even your Amazons and places like that. Places where it would be very difficult to recover if someone was able to spoof and get into your account, you want to have two-factor. Now, I'll tell you this, though. The other thing is, those of you that have two-factor get a little concerned. All of a sudden, something shows up on your phone and says, somebody's logging in from Rockland, California. And you go, well, I'm not in Rockland. I'm in Lincoln, right? Well, Rockland is where my internet on-ramp is. So you could be in Carmichael and it could be saying downtown Sacramento. That's still you trying to log on, and don't be concerned with that. Just know that it was you logging in. If it says it's from Mumbai in India, yeah, that's a whole different thing. You know you aren't currently in Mumbai, India, trying to log in. But if it's nearby where you are, it's using where your internet on-ramp is, and it's going to be close to your locale. I've seen people on AT&T where it says San Francisco because that's one of their main switches and stuff like that. So if it's not exactly where you are, don't worry about it. It's nearby where you are, then it is you trying to do it. And it's usually just coincides with you logging in. Great questions on that. Any other password questions before we move on?
Yeah, Ken, it's Randy. I just asking this for a friend. So
Yeah.
if, yeah, you know, it's
Prove it. Give me
can't.
two-factor authentication. You've got a
I
friend.
know. So you had mentioned Chrome. Don't let the Chrome browser, autofill. If I have a friend that did that, any way to undo what's been done?
Yeah, well, first of all, you should get rid of Chrome. But second of all, you can, if it's places that I would only worry about it if it's places you're worried about the security of, okay?
Okay.
So you can go into preferences and you can see your passwords there. And I believe that you can go ahead and delete them in there if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, thank you. And
if you can't, then the first thing to do would be change the password at those places, and then that would be invalid. But again, it's not, I would only be concerned if it's a site where harm can come to something you have.
Great, thank you.
I don't want to make it go everybody. I don't want everybody to go all crazy this afternoon and do all that, so. All right, let's go back to, all right, everybody's good with this. I'm going to take a 2-minute break to refill my water, and I'm going to come back and we're going to do mail. So I'll be right back, and let's get going right at, it's 10:56. We will start at 11 exactly. I'm back. If anybody has any questions.
Ken, this is completely off the main topic, but I've got an Apple Card and I can access and manage the data on my phone through a wallet. I'm not able to do that on my iPad mini. And I wonder if there's a way to do that.
Is it added to your wallet in your mini?
There's no wallet in my mini.
There should be. And I don't have the card, but I believe there's wallet in the mini. Oh, maybe there's not. But if you go into preferences, yeah, in preferences, there's a wallet there. So in your iPad mini, go into, it's right below App Store. It's about 25 items down. But I think you can activate wallet on the devices. I just told mine not to because I would never use it for Apple Pay. So let me give you a little tip on there, and too, by the way, on your wallet. You know how you can name your cards?
Yeah.
For my name of my cards, I include in the name of that card, whether it be in Safari or in there, I make part of the name be the expiration date and the code, because inevitably, if you use your card to fill in, it wants you to put in the 3-digit code.
Oh, yeah.
I make that part of the descriptive name of my card. So when I fill it in, because I do lots of miles on my cards. And so I have so many different cards that I have that as part of the name. And therefore, when I go to fill in, I know, oh yeah, that one is 169.
Well, that's a great idea.
Yeah. And it's in the descriptive name. It's not part of the number, but it works very well.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah. All right. So where are the preferences in the iPad mini?
Just go into settings.
Yeah.
And then coming down right below App Store, it should say Wallet and Apple Pay. But I don't think you have the ability in there unless you can try clicking on your card there.
Yeah. Okay. Another unrelated question is the icons on my home screen are spread out over many, many pages. Is there a way to consolidate all those?
The icons for
all the different apps.
Well, that's not your home screen. That's in Launch Bar then, right?
Well, you turn on the machine and that's what comes up.
Are you talking about the dock at the bottom?
No, just the main screen.
Oh, on your iPad?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I thought you were on Mac. No, you're limited to how many you can have on the screen. You can make folders.
yeah.
So
But
like,
just to reduce the number of pages that it,
yeah,
because
that's
there's
the
one
only,
or
that's the
two
only
on
way to
some
reduce
pages.
the only way to reduce the number of pages is create folders. Like I have all my Amazon apps under Amazon folder.
Yeah, I've done that. But
Nope, that you can't. All I can see, the only way you can reduce pages is to have less apps.
and just move those one at a time then if I want.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have
Okay.
a question.
Go for it.
All right, I just playing around, I went and changed my my email and my password at Walmart on my computer, on my Mac. I did that.
Okay.
Was not
What'd
coming
you
up.
change it to?
It did not come up when I checked for that on my phone, to check my passwords on my phone. It did not come up.
Did it add, did it prompt you to update your password on the Mac when you did it?
No, it didn't.
Did you log out and log back in again?
I did. Then I went and I logged in on my iPad, and it did ask me to save it. So
Yeah.
now I haven't even looked. I assume now that it is there. But yes, it is.
Yeah.
It
Have you
is.
gone, are you sure your Mac is got iCloud keychain on?
No,
And it's
I'm
not instantaneous.
Okay, how do
'Cause
I?
remember how it took a few minutes for my note to came up when I made a note on one and not on the other?
True, true. I had waited. It was a while. It was because I was playing around with other stuff. How do I verify if my keychain on my Mac is on?
System preferences.
Okay.
Hang on. System preferences, go into your user iCloud, click on iCloud. Or click on your, and I might say Apple ID or iCloud.
Apple ID.
And then click on iCloud, and in the column 2, 4.
Oh, it's
6,
checked. It's checked. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So if it ends up it's not doing it like that, you uncheck it and check it again, but don't do that until you're sure.
Okay.
Sure it
Okay.
doesn't work.
All right. I never knew that you could ask Siri for your passwords.
Yep.
What
That's
a light bulb
been
went on.
for
Thank you.
about the last since iOS 11, I think.
I had no idea. That's wonderful to know that.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
You bet. Okie doke, we're ready to get started. So, Rich brought up a question about autofill credit cards, and I'm going to undo my screen for a second because I'm going to see if this works. Because I do a little thing with my credit cards, but I don't want to have everybody see it yet. Autofill. Okay, so here's I'm gonna do this will, okay. So I'm gonna show my screen and show you how I got here. Because inevitably, when you go to fill in on your phone or your iPad or your Mac, it fills in your credit card number for you, but it doesn't fill in your 3-digit code, and you have to go to your wallet and get it. So I'm in Safari, Preferences, and if you go here to Credit Cards and click Edit, it's asking me to unlock. I'll do that. because you can't see my whole credit card number. Now, if I click on it, first of all, you can click on this and expose your whole credit card number, but I'm not going to do that for you because we're being recorded. But when I make the name of my credit card, I put in my 3-digit security code and my expiration date in the description of my card, because inevitably, if I'm at a website and it goes to fill in, it's going to ask me for, sometimes it'll automatically fill in your expiration from your card, which is over here. It'll automatically grab that. Sometimes it won't, but it'll always ask you for your 3-digit code. So when I put the card in, I see my 3-digit code, so I don't have to go get it out of my wallet. So that's long enough. Everybody's seen those numbers on mine. Anyway, that's also, you could double click on that card and it'll show you the number. So if you, let's say your credit card's out in your car or something like that, you can do that. And that's in the autofill portion of Safari preferences.
So Ken, point of clarification on this, you do not enter your credit card numbers on any website where you might be purchasing.
I let this autofill, but there's many times an option on the website that says, do you want us to store your credit card for you?
Yeah.
And there are places I do. Amazon, Apple, and other very reputable sites, because the problem is if they get hacked, like the Target, Home Depot hack and things like that, that's how your number gets compromised, and then you have to do a new card. I let it fill it in. It's stored in a secure enclave on my computer, and I do let a few people keep a card. The best tactic for that is you have one card that you let be stored other places, and don't make that be a card you do for in other places because of auto pay and all that. But I just stay away from that as much as possible. There are some places where it just makes sense. And, you know, Amazon, it spends a lot of money so they won't get hacked, because it would affect their stock price, and it would also affect their business. So they spend plenty of money on that. So, and by doing the autofill, then you're not having to type it in every time, and it's actually a little safer. All right. So we're moving on to mail, and you know, it's between it and Safari are probably our most used applications, and there's ways to be more efficient with it. And also it's the place where bad stuff can happen if you let it. It's unlikely, but it can. And obviously on the left there, I think we all can feel overwhelmed by email at many times. So I'm going to go through just a quick slideshow, then we're going to dig into Apple Mail, the program on iOS and on Mac. And as we go along, please, if there are any questions, go ahead and raise your hand with the reaction. Al will alert me to that, or unmute your mic and just ask away. So this was where I was last meeting. That I missed. I was actually in Park City heading to Utah, and actually talking about Big Sur. So I had some photos from Yellowstone. The one behind me you can see is a fox, a red fox that I saw there, but we saw 30 wolves and things like that. Here I was a year ago, and I can't wait to get traveling again. And woohoo, I'm 7 days from already having my vaccine, so 7 more days, and then I'm Superman again. I can start traveling with a mask. So anyway, so one of my favorite things is you can't go forward by looking over your shoulder, and this kind of plays right along to that. So all right, so we've all gotten these emails. This is a really old one, but it's the old Apple logo and stuff like that. But, you know, it looks like it comes from Apple. It's about your iTunes account. But when you take your cursor and hover over this actual address, you see it's a shortened one. It would have to say apple.com. So be careful of those. Another one, this is a fake one from Amazon. You get those all the time. So even though it looks legit, when you click on these links, it's not. So if you ever have an issue with any of these, go directly to the website that you're used to going to. You would directly log into your Apple account or things like that. You'll get these, and now they're getting them where they speak and say a bunch of things. They say, oh my God, don't shut your computer down. You're going to do this. Well, if you were to call this number, you're going to get somebody that's trying to sell you service to protect you and your Mac. Well, you and your Mac don't need protection. You only need protection from stupid people like this that are trying to con you. And I call these people farmers. And what these farmers are trying to do is harvest your credit card. So just stay away. Apple ID disabled. Yeah, these are all always fake. So from safarialert.info, well, we know that's not a legitimate website. You don't call that number. The other thing is, don't use Yahoo, don't use Bing for your search. You can use Google or use DuckDuckGo. But for instance, let's say you're having a problem with the Hewlett-Packard printer and you say, oh, how do I get service for my HP printer? Well, the best way is to go to 2 different websites. I'll describe those in a second. But if you Google that, what'll happen? In fact, let's do this. Let's go to yahoo.com, which I never go to. This drags your thing. I'm going to use this search and I'm going to say HP printer help. And look at this. Well, this is great. They do have HP. HP.com is one of the top ones. But wow, that's really surprised. It didn't used to be that way. Let's try Bing.com. What happens is people can pay to have their search come up at the top. And these can be scam sites where they're going to try to have you pay. So here we go. So connect and set up your HP printer. Well, the website is printer4buy.com. Okay. Buyer's guide. So yeah, this isn't too bad. Always look for the hp.com. But here's where you want to go to make sure you get the correct phone number. So if you, in fact, let's do the same thing for Apple Help. Apple Help. Apple.com. Okay, so Bing's not too bad. Let's go back and try Yahoo. Because Yahoo used to be really bad because they sold the search part of it. Like here. So you'd think that's it. This is a fake site, find food online, fast, quick, Apple. So it's not till you get down to here do you get apple.com. Or if you say Apple help phone number. See, find it now, top 10, Ken SAQ, just answer. These are all people that are not Apple. So the website you want to go to is called Get Human. They also have an iOS app, gethuman.com. And if you go to gethuman.com, in other words, this is a secret, these are secret shortcuts how to get a real person, right? So you don't want an answering bot, you want a real human. So I'll just put in Apple, and it's Apple Computer. And here is information about it. All the way. So here's Apple phone number. That's the real phone number. And they say free, skip waiting on hold. That's where they call the number for you. But what you'll find here is how to get a live person faster. Press 0, then 6, or for tech support, have the serial number ready and all these little tips like that. But don't use this free skip waiting on hold because they'll call for you. You can pay for the service and everything, but that's the actual real number for Apple. Let's go and do HP just to show you here, or let's do Epson. Epson.com, Epson. contacting us been the best toll-free number. And it has stats on how long the wait is here, average wait time, 35 minutes, what their hours are, all that stuff. And then different links on how to refund, a charge, order ink, etc. One that people don't, I mean, how hard is it to find Amazon's number? There's Amazon's number, customer service right there. It's a hard time finding that on Amazon's site. Okay, so gethuman.com. And the other way would be to go to Apple Direct or Amazon Direct or HP Direct and look on their website. But don't trust the search engines unless it's Google or DuckDuckGo. All right. So any questions on that before I proceed? That was, I thought, pretty important. Okay. So again, these are all fake numbers, FBI Gov, and you know, we've all kind of been there. I think I, at last count, have 387,000 emails in my inbox. And there's some people that have 0. So these are some of the things I just want to cover quickly. We just talked about scam and phishing emails. They are always fake. I get it. People email, Ken, they said this, they said that. No, they're always fake. You do not want to use Comcast, sbcglobal.net, Wave. You do not want to use the email service that your internet service provider gives you for free because it's usually bad. And what happens if you change providers? You know, with 5G rolling out, you're no longer going to have Xfinity or Comcast or AT&T to your house. You'll be able to have internet through a cellular provider. So you want to be independent of all of those. You use an Apple iCloud account or use a Gmail account. I don't have a problem with the Gmail account. It's very, very useful. In fact, I have a Gmail account I target that I use only for all my travel. So if I'm tied in and I'm searching and everything, I can go to google.com/travel, and every hotel reservation I made, every airline reservation I made, tickets for shows, things like that, anything that came into my Gmail account immediately shows up on an itinerary that it makes automatically for me. So there are benefits to it, and I'm not adverse to using it. The other one is Proton Mail. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Proton is a very secure email. You can get a small mailbox for free. You can pay for a larger mailbox. But we want to use Apple Mail, and that's what I'm going to show you tonight, or today, excuse me. It's the postage stamp on older versions of the Mac OS, and then on iOS and on the newer Big Sur, it's an envelope. And it integrates with everything. The question came up earlier, how to send some big files that were photo files. That'll get shown there. And the ability to unsubscribe easily. Data detectors we're going to go over, how it integrates with contacts and calendars, how to create folders. Folders are very good in managing your inbox, how to use the junk folder. And we're going to verify that you have the right default account. And then how Siri works with it too. That's the icon on iOS, and also on Big Sur now is the envelope. Proton Mail, this is just quick. It's Proton Mail, one word, protonmail.com. And it's very secure email. If both ends have Proton Mail, it's encrypted in both directions. Gmail and Apple Mail do a great job of encrypting your email also. Okay, get this, there we go. Okay. It's actually, this one's kind of funny. I think, oh, come on, go back a screen. Come on.
I like that.
Gosh darn it. Anyway, sorry, this is the one. So this is, I mean, haven't we all been there? It's almost bedtime, so I'll check my email, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and watch a season of my favorite show on Netflix really quick and then try to go to bed. So, all right. So now I take the biggest risk there is go live here and try do a demo. All right. So I'm going to switch to my mail account, and this will be on my Mac. And for some reason my photos didn't click. All right. So so basically your email, and I'll go ahead and get this full screen. This was the link to today's meeting and all that, that's there. But at the top of your mail, you have top hits, all results. I'm usually on that. On the left-hand column, and these mailboxes, right where actually, you know what? I'm going to make my cursor bigger because it's easier for you guys to see. So 1 second here. Accessibility. That make my cursor big enough to see? Okay.
It's better.
Yeah. All right. So along the top here, and this is Big Sur, so it looks a little different if you're on Mojave. But if I click on mailboxes, that just toggles open and shut that little left-hand column, which I like to have open because we've got all this space on my screen to see the rest of the stuff. And by default, your screen probably looks like this at the top, where it's icons only. And frankly, I found it was really confusing. And of course, years ago, Apple made these all gray because the human eye picks out colors so well. So they decided to make all the icons gray, so you couldn't tell what color anything was. If you right click or command or control click on this and make it icon and text, then you actually have the words underneath these. I find that very, very helpful when you're configuring it. So reply all forward. So I'm going to create a new message. And when I create a new message, by default, you won't have BCC over here. So the first time, and you only have to do it once, you have to go up to the header field and select BCC. So BCC will always be there. I'm going to do a quick primer on BCC and CC. So obviously you can address this email to whoever you'd like. You can copy someone if you want it. And then BCC would mean blind carbon copy. So let's say I send an email out to my brother, and then I'd send a copy to his wife. And then in the BCC, I might send it to 12 other people. But what happens is they only see who it was CC'd or to. So I'll give you an example on that. Let's say you're planning, let's say COVID's over and you're planning a potluck dinner. You send an email out to 12 friends and you would include them all in the CC, because when they reply, they're going to tell you what they're bringing. So you want everybody else, they would want to reply and see, okay, Ken's bringing a salad, Al's bringing dessert, Cheryl's bringing the appetizer, things like that, because that way everybody knows. Otherwise, you end up with all salads and no desserts. So don't do BCC in that case. But let's say you want to send out an email. It's etiquette to send it out to BCC. And if you send it to 12 people on BCC, no one sees anyone else's email address. And that's really clean, because then spammers can't get a hold of it. And in fact, it looks like a personalized email to that person. Most people think that when you put something in BCC, you also have to put something in CC or 2, and you do not. They can be totally blank and you can put it in BCC. So in subject, always put just a quick little subject in it. And for the body of the email, I don't know anybody that says they don't get enough email. So you're doing the other person a favor by keeping it short and to the point. If something has to be lengthy, if there's a long description, I will put in a very quick paragraph outlining what the main scope is, and then I can give more detail down below if needed. Okay, you're doing the other person a favor by keeping it short. It's not like the old days where you would craft out a letter, you'd use whiteout, you'd correct it all, and then you'd put that thing in the snail mail to them. This is quick. It's, again, think of it more out of respect to the other person and the other person's time, to keep it very short and to the point. You have the ability here to you can adjust the text and everything else out there. Don't get fancy in an email, because you could spend all this time making an email look really pretty, and 95% of the people on the other end will never see that because they don't have that font or don't have anything like that. Email, you need to keep everything simple on it. Don't do weird spacing. Don't do weird indentations, all of that. If you're going to make something pretty, make it in Pages and then send them a PDF. Because if you try to do it in here, it's just not going to look right. And you always want to appeal to the lowest common denominator. So you want to use a very common text or a type of text, a font. Okay, so the other thing is many times if you have multiple email accounts, you have them all listed here. So I'm going to show you how you make the default email account show up. So if I go up to Mail, come down to Preferences, and what I'm doing now is I'm composing an email. So when I hit Composing, I say, when I create a brand new message, which account am I going to do it the most from? So you may have 1 or 2 or 3 accounts, but there's probably one that you want to make sure that that's the one, it's your default. It's the one you send it from the most. So I hit this Gmail one of mine. Okay. I also go in here and deselect increase quote level, because increasing quote level is those stupid lines you see all the time coming across. And the more time an email goes back and forth, it'll go across. So I turn that one off. And there's one other preference I do to make sure is I turn on junk. So when I'm searching for all mailboxes, I do want to select junk. Apple has it off by default. So those are the main preferences there. We're going to switch to the iPhone to do the same thing, because, and it's pretty much the same as the iPad. So if I go into Settings and I go all the way down to Mail, the most important thing here is I go on down and I say, what mail account do I want to be my default? Well, actually on my phone, it's iCloud. So I should put it to my same one that I have on there, and it's my Gmail account. So when I send a brand new message, it's going to go from that. Actually, I'm going to turn it back to my iCloud for another reason. The other thing here we talk about is increase quote level. I turn that off on the phone also. It just helps. So the default email address, when you set it here, that means when I create a brand new email, anytime you reply to an email, it will always go from the email it was sent to. And I'll show you that in just a second. And we'll do it on the Mac. It'll be easier. So again, when I create a new message, remember I've already said BCC is on, so it's always on. I can choose which account, but I have told it to go from this Gmail account of mine as the default. So using Apple Mail, this is called a mail client, M-A-I-L. And what that means is this little, in this case, the little envelope goes out instead of using Safari to use your mail. I'm sure some of you probably still use Safari to do your mail. You really shouldn't, because it interacts with it really, really well. And I'm going to show you why. I sent an email to myself earlier because I don't have enough let's see here, I have, oh, let's get rid of that. Because I don't have enough messages. As you can see, I have a few messages. So I'm going to go to this account, and here's something I emailed from my one account to another account. And it's the end of COVID party. So, you know, we're only, we're about a year from when we were supposed to spend 15 days to bend the curve, right? So luckily, I'm sure a lot of us have gotten our vaccine. So there's hope on the horizon. So I'm saying we're going to have a COVID party. It'll still be virtual with Zoom, but here is the email. And I want to show you how these things called data detector works. You'll notice that right here at the top, it says Siri found one event. Well, Siri found an event, and I could go ahead and add that right to my calendar. Or there's another way I can do it, is if I take my cursor and I hover over this date, you can see those little lines go there. And if I click this, it shows, oh, well, first of all, it has the title, End of COVID. And it says, this is your calendar. Okay, well, let's see. I don't have anything else on my calendar. So I could add it to my calendar right there. I'm not gonna quite yet. Actually, I can. I'll do it here. I'm gonna add it to my calendar. And then here's the address. Well, what's interesting about this is you'll notice it's a data detector also. So if I hover over this, it's going to show me on the maps where it is. This is 2 doors down from me. And it says, oh, I can open it in maps, or I could add this person to my contacts. So if I click add to contacts, it wants to know if I want to do any of this other information on there. I won't do that. And that's just, again, a data detector. Then here's the phone number. If I click on the phone number, I can add that to my contacts. I never have to type it in. Or the best thing is, if you're across the room, there you go. You can see large type. So you could be across the thing to it. And believe it or not, if your phone is linked to here, I can say call using my iPhone right from here. This happens in contacts and other places, and that would fire it up right in my phone. So let me look, and unfortunately, I'm going to have to forward this because I don't have this K-Links account on my phone. So let me go ahead and mail this to my other account. New message. All right, so now I'm going to bring up my phone and show you how these data detectors look and work on the phone. So let's see here. Wait for it to come in. Take a second. All right, well, I'm waiting for that to come in. Any questions on what I've covered on mail so far? Please ask away. Of course, it's a demo, so it's taking a while. Anybody? No questions? Everything's clear as mud? All right, well, oh, here it goes. So now if I tap on that email, you'll notice I can tap on the date. You'll notice up at the top, it says Siri found. I can add that event to the calendar. I can click on the address and it takes it to the map. And from the map, I can decide to create or add it to a contact. And if I go back to mail and I hit the phone number, it asks me if I want to call that number. So the data detectors work on the iOS device also. Well, let me show you what's really cool about this is we added it to the calendar. So if I go to my calendar, look at tomorrow, here is the end of COVID party, right? Well, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to quit mail right now on the Mac. And in this calendar, So let's pretend this end of COVID party was 6 months from now. There was a password to get into this party. So pretend that it's 6 months from now and you look at this and you go, oh, there's that party. Well, let's see. If I double click, oh, it shows me where it is. It shows me the time and everything else. But oh, when I click show on mail, and remember right now my mail is closed, I tap that, it fires up mail. There's the mail message. And oh, look, the password to get in the door was I've been vaccinated. So that would be very beneficial 6 months from now, because you know, the mail would be hidden down in there and everything else. So if you use these data detectors, it makes the round trip to that. And that's whether it's on the iPhone, on the iPad, or on the Mac. So again, those data detectors are the key. How to add things to your contacts. Many times people will have an email in their signature of their email will be their address and everything. You don't have to type them into contacts. You just go through this and let it fill the contacts in, and you're never having to do that. So anyway, COVID party tomorrow. What did I say? 6 a.m. Be there or be square, I guess. So
Would it retrieve that email even if you had deleted the email?
You know, let's try that. I don't think so, but if you'd stored it somewhere else. So I'm going to delete that email, and then I'm going to go into the trash, because if it was 6 months from now, you may have even emptied your trash. Let's see here. It's in the K-Links trash. Maybe archived in there, because that's how they do it. Here we go. There it is. So I will delete it from the trash also. What the heck is that? Yeah, that's a bad email. All right, so now let's go back to, I'm going to quit mail. And now let's see what happens, because I don't think it does, because it can't find it. Hey, look at that, it found it. Oh, and that's what's funny. Because it was in my sent folder still, because I sent it. Let me get it out of the sent folder. This has come up before, and I really need to find this out. So let me get it out of my sent folder for NOSKEN. Yeah, delete. And then let me get it out of that trash. Delete. Okay. All inboxes quit. Let's try it again. Yep, can't find it. So that'd be a reason not to delete it. Those of you that like to delete things, that then I've had clients that use a zero inbox, and they email me and say, hey, didn't you send me an email about 2 weeks ago about something? And I go, yeah, I did. Well, I can go find that email and send it to them, but they can't, because they do a zero inbox. But I declared email bankruptcy a long time. Oh my God, I was off. I only have 356,000 messages in my inbox. So, but you know what? That is not bad, because I can go over here and search, and I have a search capability to search for everything. But it brings up a good point. What I do is I don't use folders very often, but I do them for specific things. For instance, the Yellowstone trip I just took. So here was all the interaction I had. I saved everything so that when I check into a hotel, or I'm looking for something that I had, or my reservations to get into Yosemite and Yellowstone, I save them in a folder over here. And that's pretty much the only time I do it for quick access. As I get information for taxes, I'll put it in each particular year like that. When I did the Eastern Sierras, I just make folders that way. And actually they're called mailboxes, excuse me. A folder can hold multiple mailboxes, but I'm going to show you how to make a mailbox. So you go up to the word mailbox, and you come on down, and you say, create a new mailbox. Don't do a smart mailbox. It hardly ever works, and smart mailboxes are dumb. We're going to create a new mailbox. So now when I create a new mailbox, first of all, I don't want it just on my Mac because then it won't show up on any of my other devices. So I use this and I say, do I want it in that MacNexus Gmail account? Do I want it in my Lincoln Hill Ski Club Gmail account? Do I want it in my K-Links account? Do I want it in my NOSKEN? So I'm going to just put it in my K-Links account and we're going to call it test. So now I'm creating a mailbox called test in my K-Links account, and I can go ahead and close the iCloud, close that one. And now you can see I have a mailbox here called test. Well, the beauty of this mailbox is if I have this on my phone or my iPad, anything I put in this box will show up on my other devices. So, and all you do to put mail in that box is I simply click on my inbox, and you can just drag like this Brad's Deals over to the test, and that'll put it there. It'll take it out of my inbox. Or if you want it to stay in your inbox also, you hold down the Option key and you'll notice it becomes a plus sign. So it remains in your inbox and it goes to that. But because of search capabilities and everything, there's not really a need to do that. But you simply just drag it right over to that, and you can populate that with whatever you want. And it takes it out of your inbox, so it cleans up your inbox, and then it's there and you can do whatever you want with it. If I have something that's super important, I will copy it to there because I still want it in my inbox just for safety's sake. And that's probably why I have so many messages. Any questions up to this point?
Yeah, Ken, this is Roy.
Hi.
I have some special folders like for our trip to France. And I have last year's, and that I can watch on my computer or my phone. But I created one for this coming year, and it says no email when I go to my phone to look. Is there a...
Did you create the mailbox into just your Mac?
No, iCloud.
Is the box on the left-hand side?
Yeah.
If you go to a box, you said it was an iCloud one, so let me turn on my iCloud. So if I go to this box, for instance, here, class registration, and I hit command, I hit control, I can say get account info, and this tells me where it is.
Okay, I'll keep looking. Thanks.
I would look at that, and then is it right next to the one from previous?
Yeah. And so I have one that's there and the other one isn't, and that
and the
just
box
throws
doesn't
me.
show up, or the box is empty.
The box shows up, but it's empty.
Yeah, drag some other stuff in it and just see if that cures it. If not, I would delete that one and do a new one and attempt it again.
Okay, thanks.
And then whenever you do those things, for instance, if you make a change here, always go up here to the main inbox and say get mail, because what that does is it sends out a message to go check the server. And then on your iPhone, and I'll pull that up, when we go into mail on the phone, when you pull down, that's what tells us, see the little spinning gear? That's saying go check mail, because it doesn't like to be checking it every single second.
Yeah, these were months ago.
No, I know, but I'm just saying when you make a change, do that.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
All right. So another thing in mail, people want to do signatures, and especially remember, I told you, you shouldn't use your internet service provider for your email. So let's say you decide to change to a new email service. Well, you're going to want to put a signature on your email saying, oh, please use my new Gmail, etc. So if I go up to mail, preferences, and that again, so we do a signature. So in a signature, it's really interesting. It's kind of a little counterintuitive. You have to produce the signature over here. And then once you've produced the signature, you have to assign it to these different accounts. So I'm going to take this one and I drag it to that account. Now that signature is there. But then I have to tell it, okay, I'm going to use that signature. And so, and I don't recommend photos. I don't use this any longer. It's kind of become passe in email because it doesn't always show up. But I'm going to show you what happens now if I create a new message. See, it has the signature on it, but now I have the option to say, oh, okay, no signature. That's over here on the right side. But again, to go to signatures, I have to go into preferences. I have to attach the signature to a certain email account. And then I also have to say, go ahead and do this. And if you have a bunch of different quotes and things like that, you could have them in random or sequential order, and it just rotates around. So it's a little difficult to get a picture in here. We're not going to go through that again because it's really not a way to do it. So if I want to take that one out now, I'll just go like that. But to do a simple text one, you know, you create the new signature, you hit the plus sign, create a new signature, and just say, please use this email address going forward. And that's how you do signatures. Here's how we do it, because these don't carry over to the iPhone, and the iPhone is very difficult to do photos on. So if I go into the iPhone or the iPad and I go to Mail, I come on down here and I go to Signature. Now, what's interesting in Signature, if I say all accounts there, that's my signature just as Ken. But if I go per account, it will allow me, for instance, on this Lincoln Hills Ski Club one, I could say Lincoln Hills Ski Club instead of Ken. So you have a choice to have one signature work on all of your mail accounts or per account. And again, this is just going to be text. Keep it short, keep it simple. That's really, really important. Any questions on that?
No, but
okay,
going back.
Go ahead.
Previous question.
Yeah.
How did you make a folder, the K-links in Google? How did you make that folder on the left side?
No problem. So I go up to, I'm just here in mailboxes. I go up to I'm in the regular mail. I go to mailboxes, come on down to new mailbox. And when I click new mailbox, I choose where I want it to go, where I'm going to be dropping that new box, and then it shows up.
But
like
how
here,
did you make the folder? Oh,
it looks like a folder, but it's actually a mailbox. This is how I make, it's a mailbox.
Okay.
So here is like in this Readle, this is a folder that contains a mailbox, but generally it's just a mailbox. You just go up to the word mailbox and say new mailbox.
Okay. I have some, one that's called On My Mac, one's called iCloud.
Yeah, the On My Mac is only on your Mac, though. It doesn't interact with any of your other emails. And you need to have an IMAP protocol, which would be like a Gmail or iCloud, to make it so it shows up on all your devices. Does that make sense?
I don't know if I'm asking the right question. I have a title called Google, and I have a mailbox under it called Imports. How did I get that Google there? Well,
the Google is your account. That's your Gmail account.
So you
and then the box under it is import. It probably imported some messages. So if you want to create other boxes like that, you go up to mailbox and say new mailbox. And then one of these over here would say Google. Where in mine, since I have multiple Gmail accounts, it doesn't just say Google, it tells me the whole name.
Oh, it tells me where I want to put the new box.
Yes.
Well,
and like in this case, if I wanted to put it in my K-links like I did for test, I would just click right here on this and it will create that new box there, and I'll call it test.
So you have a mailbox called K-links. already.
Yeah, well, you have one called
Address.
Google, but you have one called Google.
Google.
It's only the descriptor. You'll see it when you go to add mailbox. You'll have a pull down and it will show them.
Okay, I'm looking. Okay, gotcha.
Ken, I
See,
have
here's
a
my test
question.
two showed up.
Ken,
Yeah,
I have a question. I have a Gmail account, Google, and I can choose between Gmail or me.com or iCloud.com. Which one should I do?
depends on how you want to do it. So for instance, because like I told you, all my travel, I make sure goes through Gmail. So if I'm going to make a travel one, I'll keep it in one of my Gmail accounts because I want it to get, I want their robots to search it out so it'll build an itinerary for me. Other things more personal and things I'm concerned about security, like taxes and things like that, I keep those in my iCloud account.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Wherever you want to keep it. Now, Royce, what that means is if it was sent to my Gmail account, I can still save it in my iCloud account. And if it was sent to my iCloud account, I can still save it in a Gmail. All I'm saying is, look at it this way. You have your desk set up and you have one file drawer that's business and one file drawer that's personal. Well, let's say somebody emailed something to you personal, but you need to put it in the business file folder. It's no problem moving it over to that other one. Does that clarify it?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, sir. You have a top bar that I don't seem to have.
That's because I'm on Big Sur.
I am also.
Okay, then it's if you go up here to window or view, boy. See, there's this go to window and you can customize it however you want.
Okay.
The window to the right is screen tile window zoom, but that wasn't it. Where is it? It's view.
I'll play around with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mine's pretty much the default. I made one small change and I can't remember what it was. Yeah, sorry. And again, I'm not enamored with Big Sur at all. Okay, let's see. So go ahead.
Question from Bertie.
Yeah.
I'm still on my old MacBook until that M1 chip comes in on the newer MacBooks. But on the far left, you have a column left of what comes in on mail with all of your logos. How do you get that?
Oh, no, that's my dock. My dock is on the left instead of the bottom.
Well, I see your dock, but no, the gray column, it looks gray.
Yeah, so I just click on mailboxes and it's exposed and not exposed.
Thank you. Thanks.
And that, by the way, that's exactly the same thing in Safari for the, think of it this way, see how it does the bookmarks and same thing.
Thank you. I just I knew that a long time ago.
No problem. Yeah, and it's not, if you only have one mailbox and stuff, it's not a big deal. But since I have multiple ones and I want to be able to drag over to these, that's why I do it. Okay. So the last thing we're going to cut, was there another quick question?
Just one question about mail. Up at the top, you have the labels under the icons going clear across, and you told us how to get those. I just want.
No, I don't know how. You control click or right click on the header bar and say icon in text.
Okay.
Apple does it icon only, which I think is foolish. And look, it doesn't really change any room or anything. It's like, you paid for the darn computer. Why don't I get all the extra words, you know?
It was the control what?
Control click.
Click. Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Or right click and you come up with that. You have to have your cursor up in that area. So your cursor's up in the area, right. Control click, and you get this contextual menu.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Last thing was how to send a bunch of photo files. Unfortunately, wow, this is weird. Okay, there we go. That's not going to have any photos in it. Why is my other library not showing? All right, well, okay, let's see here. See if I can get some photos. There we go. We got a few photos. Okay, so I'm going to take a bunch of photos and try send these in an email. So if I've highlighted my photos and I'm going to click share by email. Now remember my default email, so there's 15 photos, and if it's actual size, it's 33 megabytes. So that's over 20. Oh, here's some of the Yellowstone. There's a nice bison. So I can't send it from my Gmail account, but if I send it from my Apple account, that's weird. If I send it from my Apple account, first of all, I could make the photo smaller. If I go to medium, they're 3.9 megabytes. If I send them as large, they're 11 megabytes. That would go out. But if I want to send them actual size, I will send it to my, let's send it to K-Links. Okay. And this is photo test. So I'm going to go ahead and send this, and it's going to ask, oh, it didn't. Well, it should have asked if I want to use mail drop. And what mail drop means is it will send that email with very large files, even a video. And what it does is it sends the link. It puts them up on the cloud, and then it sends the person a link, not actually the photo, a link, and then they could click on that link and then bring it down. So let's look on K-Links here. Yeah, see, it's trying to send it all out, but it's trying to send it as a full message. If I'd have made that thing 100 megabytes, it would have definitely asked me about mail link, but you can see in the lower left-hand part of my screen. One other thing I can always show you in email that's important is if you go up to the word window and come down to connection doctor, it'll show you if your accounts are working. So for some reason, this account isn't working right now, and that's okay because I don't get email on this computer from it. But anyway, it shows you green dots, red dots, etc. So again, that way to send the extra photos was to use what's called mail drop. All right, it looks like it may have worked here on K-Links. Let's see, get mail. Oh, I think it loaded the whole thing. Yeah, so for some reason it loaded everything. This bison was pretty close to me. I'm like 10 feet from this bison, by the way.
Can you go over the process again, Ken?
To do photos, yeah. So if you go to your photos, you select a bunch of photos, how many you want. I'll try even do more, just see if it'll. Oops, whoa.
And how long could a video be?
Well, you know, with this thing, it could pretty much be pretty big because you're sending a link.
Okay.
And it already goes up to the cloud. So you'd have to play with it. And remember, you can only send that from your iCloud account, whether .mac, .me, or .iCloud, because it's the only one that uses mail drop. If you send it from a Gmail account, it won't work, and you have to do it from Apple Mail. I thought this one was kind of funny. And that whole thing was going around. So anyway, that's how you would do it. It's called mail drop. And let me look, because there may have to be I think there's a setting for it. Let me look in preferences. Composing. Well, anyway, you can just do a Google on mail drop. It'll come up and tell you, because that's what it does. It gives you, if it's going to use it, it's going to ask you if you want it to be via mail drop. Okay.
Thank you.
There's a couple links in the chat.
Oh, thanks, Al. Perfect. Absolutely. So I'm going to delete that because it's a pretty good sized file and I don't need that thing hanging around. Ken's actually this. You guys should mark down this date. Ken is actually deleting some of his mail. Doesn't usually happen. So, all right. Okay, so any questions on mail? Because we're a little bit over time. I apologize. I wanted to get those things in, but passwords were super important, and that was, I think we got that pretty well cleared up. So anybody else?
Yes,
Feel free,
Ken.
go ahead. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, sometimes I get a squiggly sign next to a mailbox, which means there's
Yeah.
a problem.
Yeah, so the squiggly sign like here, it's offline. So if you click that, you say, take all accounts online. And what it will do is, what happens is mail is constantly trying to go and check mail for you. But if for some reason it's having trouble doing it, it will disable that account temporarily. And if you go up here and say, take all accounts online, sometimes it's a password issue, things like that. Because what it's doing is after a certain amount of time of it unsuccessfully reaching that server, it'll say, oh, I'm not going to check that thing any longer. And that's what the squiggly line, or sometimes you'll get a little yellow triangle with an exclamation mark in it. And so like there, I think it's finally connected. I've had to do it, clicked it a couple times, and now they're connecting. So if I go up to the word window and come down to connection doctor, yeah. So this is a shared email account from the ski club, and I got a feeling that one of the people that participating in it may have in fact changed the email. Oh, no, there it is. So see, it took me like 3 clicks to get there, and now everything's green.
And how about that triangle box? Do we just restart the computer?
That's the same thing. You click on it and it may prompt you for your password, or it may just try to click, but you can click the triangle box just like the squiggly, or again, go up to mailbox and say, now it's grayed out because all my accounts are online. You would say, take all accounts online.
Okay.
And again, I think that's a flaw with Apple. It's been going on for a long time, where it should tell you after a certain amount of time, hey, you know, that one account isn't online. Do you want me to take it online for you? Because people don't always look at that, especially if my mailboxes were closed like that, you wouldn't even know. So, but the squiggly line or the yellow with the triangle just means if for some reason it's not connecting, and most of the time you can click on it and say, please try it, take accounts online. And if not, you can go up to mailbox and say, take accounts online. And if it asks you for your password, enter your password carefully and should be okay. Now, if your internet's out, a lot of times you'll have that on all of them. Don't go try putting in new passwords or anything. Immediately go to Safari and make sure, go to apple.com. Make sure you're in fact on the internet, because if you're not on the internet, that's where it's messed up. Okay. Good question. Any others?
Question, this is Bill.
Hi.
I have a question about the email accounts. One of my email accounts is pacbell.net.
You should make sure you don't use that very much.
The only thing that's coming in is Yahoo, and I don't understand that. Should I?
Well, yeah, okay. So make sure you're using other accounts for important stuff and let the spam go to that. So SBC Global, ATT.net, all of those are managed by Yahoo, and Yahoo is owned by Verizon. So do we see a conflict there?
Yes.
They are the worst email service there is. You get tons of spam, it gets hacked, it does all kinds of things. Don't use it for anything important. Once you get everything important off of it, you don't even need to go check it anymore. But you need to be a free agent, because if you decide to go to another internet provider, you'll end up probably losing that email address anyway, and you don't want to have to make all those changes. So have nothing critical on att.net, sbcglobal.net, Yahoo, or even Xfinity, Comcast. You know, I mean, it's a mess out there. You're better off with people that handle emails.
So I could just delete it. So that just
it'll never go away. It'll never go away, but You know, you can just, if you're just getting garbage on it, then don't even check it. But you might occasionally have to log in to do it. The other thing is, if you go to Yahoo's website and try to look at that email, the Yahoo website is so full of ads and garbage that it slows the computer down dramatically. So by using Apple Mail to go check it, it's much, much cleaner.
Very good, thank you.
And does the dog have a question?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's yours? Hey, just tell the dog to step up and explain the problem. And
Yeah, I'm dog sitting. I'll mute it. Sorry about
and you're
that.
loving it. You're loving it, I bet. Anybody else? Any other questions?
Yes.
Yes,
Will
Ken?
today's chat be on the MacNexus site? Or do we have to separately?
It's
say
actually at the YouTube, and Bob usually sends out the blast and has a link to the YouTube where it is. So everything on there will be there, and we save the chat at the end. Al saves the chat too, and I believe Bob links that in the blast, if I'm not mistaken. And I got to tell you, Al does a killer job. If you pop open your chat window, I haven't looked at it lately.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
You know, all these links are there and everything else. So at the very end, the bottom of the chat, you can hit the file button or the ellipsis, the 3 dots, and save the chat. And look at that, Al, right after I said it, he's got the Zoom, the link to the recordings that are on YouTube. So good question. And again, Al, huge kudos to Al. This is a great thing that he does. And I'll tell you, he like reads my mind and gets posted before I say something. And he is very, very active in our Facebook group. And you can be a lurker. You can just sit there and look, but he's constantly updating with very pertinent links about Apple products, not about our club. It's about Apple products and things like that in the Facebook group for MacNexus. So definitely great. Sounds like there was one other question back there. I think they got stepped on. Anybody?
I have a question about sending photos.
Okay.
I can send about 3 or 4 or 5 photos to somebody.
Did you just hear me talk about mail drop?
I know, but when I do it with people that don't have it, their screen shows in green. If I send 4
on a text message?
What?
Yeah, you're trying to send them texts, right?
Yes.
Yeah, no, on a text message, that's you need new friends. Only have people that have Apple products and you'll be able to send all you want, because the problem is that's a limitation with theirs. But let me show you, Royce, let me show you one setting you need to make sure is on that might help, but that is a problem with it. So if I go, my phone is on your screen. If I go to settings and I go down to messages, and in messages, you want to make sure that SMS is on. See that one? SMS and MMS, multimedia message service is what that is. Make sure it's on, and then good luck. They're on an Android, so it might work.
Okay, thank you.
But make sure those are on or it won't work. The fact that you said you could send a couple, but not, yeah, there's no other way to do it than to email them a link and use mail drop then.
Okay.
Okay, good question. Anybody else? Phew, all right. Well, good luck with the passwords. I'll throw that screen back up really quick so you have that. Obviously, this has been recorded, but if we go to that one, this gives you kind of the rundown of the password stuff. Oh, shoot. I got to go through all the thing. Come on, blah, 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 blah. Here, come on. And then what I'll do is I will log out or show everybody there. So we get the rogues gallery here. And again, that's an important one. And all right, so there's we got a few of the hanger-oners here. Royce, where's that shot from? That's pretty cool. Royce isn't in his chair. So thanks, everybody. Thanks again, Al, very, very much. And Royce, where's your shot from back there?
The background. That's in Express, the Glacier Express going to in Switzerland.
Ah, I thought so. I could see the ski runs up there.
There.
Can't wait to travel again.
Looks good.
Thanks,
You had a good time, I
everybody.
think
Have a
it,
good
huh?
one. Oops, I'm not gonna hit, I gotta save the chat. Perfect. You got it saved, Al?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay,